Welcome to our 137th weekly webcast. Now, I'm going to give you all the course I'm most proud of for free in a minute. And the way this call works is for 15 to 20 minutes, I talk about the most important and interesting business news topics from the past week and how you can use the news to enhance your career or invest much better. Then after 15 to 20 minutes, I'm going to spend the rest of this 3-hour call taking your questions. And I'll give away my $999 MBA degree product to one person on this call. I'll explain how you can win this very, very soon. And I want to give you all my complete job course. So let me go over here to show you the free course. All right, so this is the course I'm most proud of. So the way to get it, my complete job course, is you go to my website, harounventures.com. And then what you do is you go here to About Chris and then go down to Power Search. Okay. And within Power Search here, and by the way, this is a new product of mine where you can search for anything you want. And I have over 10,000 videos I've answered over the past couple of years over YouTube Live that are all accessible up here. But the free course actually is right down here. Okay. So you scroll down and it's called my complete job course. And so all you have to do is click right here in order to take the course for free. And this will help you create the best LinkedIn profile as well as an amazing resume and interview awesome as really well as well. Can't talk today. Yeah. So anyway, I hope you enjoy that. All right, time for the news. I want to explain how technical analysis works using Tesla as an example, as some traders are worried that Tesla is breaking technical support levels. Now, I humbly recommend doing fundamental research and valuation-based research before looking at technical analysis, which is what I refer to as FVT, Fundamentals, Valuation, and Technicals. My FVT approach to doing investment research, I teach in my courses and my MBA degree program as well. Now, the first thing that we need to look at with technical analysis is what is referred to as the RSI, or the Relative Strength Index. So let's look at Tesla's RSI, or Relative Strength Index, together. Okay. So what I'm going to do is, give me 1 second. I'm going to go over here. And all we do is we go to finance.yahoo.com and you type in the ticker for Tesla, which of course is TSLA. Then we select the chart here. And we'll make it big as well to get more real estate on the screen. Here we go. Good. Okay, cool. So if you don't see the RSI on the bottom of the chart here, which I'll explain in a second, you click here on Indicators, and then you select RSI, meaning Relative Strength Index. And the default is 80, I'll explain this in a second, means overbought. 20 means oversold. I'll show you what this means. Okay, so at the very, very bottom here, you could see the RSI. And I'll make this a little bit bigger here. Okay, cool. So at the bottom here, you'll see 20. Okay, it's tough to see, but it's a little red 20 right here. And this down here, this 20, means the stock is oversold if it hits this level in the chart above. And give me a second to show you, okay? Okay. So when it's close to this level, traders think, hey, the stock is oversold, I'm going to buy it. And so it doesn't always work, but you can actually see it right here, okay? It's close to 20 RSI oversold. And on the stock chart up here, you could see it was oversold and it bounced back. Okay, it doesn't always work perfectly, which is why we look at fundamentals first, valuation second, and technicals last. Now, what we can also see here is if it's overbought, which is a reading of 80, which is a little bit tricky to see here. Let me draw this line here. I wish I could draw straight lines, man. Okay, and when the stock is somewhat overbought, meaning it passes 80 on this level here, some traders tend to sell the stock, right? They think that given mean reversion, too many people have owned it and it's going to pull back. The same thing happened right here as well, and a little bit right here to a lesser extent. Now, I believe in looking at fundamentals and valuation first because I think every single year your portfolio comes down to 1, 2, or 3 stocks that do exceptionally well. And I always try to look for 5x5s when I invest, which means a 500% return within 5 years. I'm wrong a lot of the time, but if I'm right on a 5x5, it usually means it goes up at least 100%. The problem with technical analysis is we try to fight to make 5 or 10% here or there, and it's quite random every now and then. So yes, I do respect technicals, but a little bit less so than I respect fundamentals. Okay. The next thing we're going to look at here is moving averages. Okay, the 50-day moving average as well as the 200-day moving average. So let's go back to Tesla and take a look at the 50-day moving average and the 200-day moving average. Okay, so if you don't see the 50-day and 200-day moving average here, you can draw them in here by going to indicators, moving averages. Okay, 50 is purple. And then we'll add the 200-day moving average as well. And basically what this stuff means is it means what is the average movement of the stock over the past 50 or 200 days. Okay, so right here we have the moving averages. So this here is the 50-day moving average. And sometimes what happens is it's self-fulfilling. It matters because it does to certain traders. But what happens is it holds support at those moving averages. So let me show you what this means. Okay, so let's look first at the 50-day moving average here. Okay, this line here, which is the average price of the stock over the past 50 days. You see right here, it tested the 50-day moving average and it bounced. Okay, and usually the rule is that I like to think of, if it goes 1 or 2% below the 50-day moving average or any moving average, that's okay. Let it go there. But if it goes a lot below, then sometimes it can trigger stop losses, meaning investors will sell immediately. They'll shoot first, ask questions second. So right here, it sort of tested it. Here it tested it and broke down through more than a couple percent. And then we saw a precipitous sell-off here. Okay. All right, so that's the 50-day. Now, let me change colors here. See if I can do this. We'll go green. So the green, I'll talk about the 200-day moving average, okay? This guy up here, although it's a red line. So this is really important because if it violates this level more than a couple percent, then people can freak out. And given the fact we've been in a ridiculous bull market and everything is melting up, and this won't last forever, I promise you. But given the fact we've been in a big bull market, meaning stocks have done well, not many stocks have tested the 200-day moving average. But right here, it's a key level for Tesla because it's starting to test that level just a little bit. And one of the reasons the market has pulled back quite a bit over the past couple of days or so, but I'm a long-term investor. But one of the reasons it's pulled back is because the Federal Reserve, meaning the entity in the United States in charge of increasing and decreasing interest rates, has started to imply that, hey, we might actually start raising rates because inflation is up, right? The price of lumber is at an all-time high. You can't find semiconductor chips. The used auto market actually is up 10% month over month, which is the biggest increase in history. Okay, so that explains the 50 and the 200-day moving average. Now, next up, let me delete my scribbles. Next up, I want to talk about something called a golden cross, okay, which is bullish, okay, meaning positive. And a golden cross is when the 50-day moving average goes up through the 200-day moving average. And let me show you what this means. All right, so here we have a hypothetical situation. And let me go here to get my mouse to work. Sorry, tough doing this live, but fun. I like the challenge. All right, so let's assume that this here is the 50-day moving average, okay? The average price of the stock over the past 50 days. Then let's look at another line here. Let's assume this one here is the 200-day moving average, okay? 250. So right here, we see that the 50-day moving average crossed up through the 200-day moving average, okay? And that's very positive. That's called a golden cross. Now, the opposite of a golden cross is a death cross. Okay, so let me just delete this screen here and we'll draw it again. Okay, so the opposite is here. So let's go to Here we go. Good. All right. So let's say this here is the 50-day moving average. Okay. And then right here, we have the 200-day moving average. Okay. So 200, and then we have 50. Now, right here, we see that the 50-day moving average crossed below the 200-day moving average. And that's usually pretty bearish when it comes to technical analysis. Okay, let me delete all those drawings and let's move on. All right, so the next technical indicator that traders look at is something called technical support or technical resistance. And it's similar to the 50 and 200 day, except it's just a line that's either violated or it's not. So let's look at an example of this. Okay, so let's pretend that this here is a stock. Okay. Now, what you can do is, what people do is they look at resistance and support levels. I'll get there, guys. Sorry. It's fun doing this live. Okay, good. Here we go. And then I'll go just in green this time. Here we go. Yeah. So right here, if this is the stock, right, the top line, it looks like right here, it bounced off the support level multiple times. Okay. And people like to look at that and think of that as a technical support level. If it doesn't break that level below more than 1% or 2%, then people think it will accumulate higher. And the opposite is true as well when you look at technical resistance. Okay, so right here, the stock did not break through the technical resistance level. Boom, boom, boom. And then boom, it did more than a couple percent here. And we're off to the races and people started accumulating. And hedge funds, and I know this for a fact because I used to work in the hedge fund industry, hedge funds will freak out if they're short a stock that breaks up through technical support. And they'll cover their shorts. And buying begets buying begets buying, because when you cover a short or close a short position, which means when you bet against a stock, when you cover a short position, you're buying the stock. And so people panic buy. I've seen it happen many times over the years. All right, next up, we have what's called a channel formation. And let's look at Tesla stock for an example of channel formation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw what I believe to be the channel, or at least what technical investors think is the channel, okay? So let's just say right here, okay? And it's not a perfect science, but you can see here that we're at support, support, support. We didn't break through, we didn't break through, we didn't break through. And on the high end, we're close to resistance, resistance, resistance. And then we broke up more than a couple percent. And right here, this is where traders would cover their shorts. Okay, because it would break up to the upside. Now, if we keep looking here, we see here it broke the low end of the channel. Okay, and that's pretty bearish, and that's why a lot of investors have been selling, among other reasons too. There's usually reasons why stocks go down outside of technicals. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. Now let me clear up my awful drawings there, and let's move on. All right, so next up we've got hold on a second. I think I've covered everything. Yeah, no, I've covered all of them there. Okay, great. So the bottom line is we look at fundamentals first, valuation second, and technicals a distant third. Why? Because if we only looked at technical analysis, we know that technicals are not always accurate, which I just showed you. And more importantly, if we ignore fundamentals and valuation when doing our investment research, then we'd freak out every time that the market sold off. And what would happen is we would end up becoming tourists in the stock. We'd just be renters of them. That's my tourist graphic up there. Lastly, Warren Buffett once said that the New York Stock Exchange is the only store in the world where people sell stuff when it goes on sale. Yes, technicals are important, but I humbly believe that fundamentals and valuation-based investment research are much more important in the long run. I want to talk about how to tell what large investors own by looking at Warren Buffett's latest portfolio. Now, by law, very, very large investors must disclose what stocks they own every single quarter if they manage more than $100 million. And what we do is we look for what is called a Form 13F on SEC.gov's website. And a big story recently has been that Warren Buffett sold most of his Wells Fargo position. And that's a big deal because he's owned Wells Fargo, ticker WFG, in size since 1989. So what we're going to do in a second is we're going to go together to SEC.gov. And many investors use what I'm about to show you as part of their stock investment research process when deciding, which stocks to buy, as they want to copy the smart money. But I recommend doing your own research, which I teach in my courses in my MBA program. You are the smart money, not the big funds. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is we need to get the ticker on the fund. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to Yahoo Finance to get the ticker for Warren Buffett's fund, which is called Berkshire Hathaway. And then we're going to look for the 13F documents to see what Warren Buffett owns. So let's go there together. So the first thing we do is we go to Yahoo Finance, okay? Then once we're at Yahoo Finance, what we do is we type in the name of the company to get the ticker. So in this case, it's Berkshire Hathaway. Okay, and so there's two Berkshires. There's A and B. A is the one that's a really high price, and the other one, the B, is a lower price, so that anybody can buy it. People that don't have as much money like me. The Berkshire A, right here, it's at $433,000. Unbelievable. So what we do is we take this ticker, okay? Then we go over to SEC.gov. And then we select, and this is the United States Securities and Exchange Commission website. By law, if you have a lot of money and you sell your investments publicly, you have to list all financial documents here. It's great disclosure. So once here, we click on More Search Options. Then we enter in the ticker symbol here. I'm just going to paste Berkshire's ticker. A or B works. Then what you'll see here is a bunch of documents, and we want to look at what's called the 13F. Okay, and as you can see here, these are filed quarterly, okay, every 3 months by law. If you see the letter A beside one, it's because they made a mistake and they wanted to amend something, but it's quarterly. So the first thing I want to do is I want to click here to see what Warren Buffett disclosed on May 17th of 2021. So we click on Documents, and it gets tricky, but you always want to click on the HTML document here, never an XML, because XML is just garbage code like this. So we click right here on HTML. And right here, these are all the stocks that Warren Buffett owns in his company's portfolio of Berkshire Hathaway. And so the most important thing to look at is the name of the company, like AXP, Amex, or Apple, AAPL, and then the value. So for example, he owns AbbVie, this company here. He owns $2.4 billion worth of this. Now, just for fun, let's do a search on Wells Fargo here, okay? Here it is. All right, so Wells Fargo right here, you could see Wells Fargo here. You could see that he owns only $26 million worth. And I say only because usually he owns billions and billions and billions of dollars worth. That's not much. He's unwinding his position. How do I know? I'll show you. I know because, and anybody knows, because you go back here to the 13F from the previous quarter, okay? And we'll go to see how much Wells Fargo he owns there. And you can do this for any mutual fund that has over $100 million in assets. Okay, so we'll click here. And then what I'll do is I'll search for Wells Fargo again. And we could see here that in the quarter before this one, he owned a ton more Wells Fargo. Okay, he had over $1 billion in it in one particular fund. He only has $26 million in total now in Wells Fargo as of the most recent filing. And so the bottom line is that he's actually getting out of that position. Now, when I used to work on Wall Street in the hedge fund industry, of course I did my own research. But if I saw a massive mutual fund starting to sell a massive position by looking at the 13Fs, it might make me look into maybe shorting the stock, meaning betting against that company's stock. So when you buy a stock, it's called a long. The opposite is called a short. And to be transparent, I want to show you what I used to look at, okay, the smart money I thought in the past. But no one's smarter than you. Always do your own research, please. So there's one mutual fund called Capital Group on the West Coast here that had the best software and internet investor back in 2005. And when he started accumulating a position in software company Oracle, ticker ORCL, which was disclosed in their 13F, then it was a signal from a supply and demand perspective that they were going to back up the truck and buy more. As the fund named Capital Group, they usually make very, very large concentrated positions. So that was a positive indicator from a supply and demand perspective for shares of Oracle. And it was fair game too, because it was publicly disclosed in the 13F. Now, the 13F process of finding out what funds own, it's not a perfect science. Because if somebody lies about what they own when they submit these 13F documents to the SEC.gov, then garbage in and garbage out. And this is what happened in 2008 with a money manager criminal named Bernard Madoff. He lied about what he owned when he disclosed his 13Fs. And we should have known better, though, because his name was Madoff. You know, because he made off. No? I'm sorry. No more dad humor. That was the first dad humor today, okay? No more dad humor. All right. All right, Mr. Madoff. Separately, by looking at or through the 13Fs, it doesn't show you options positions. And years ago, when I worked in the hedge fund industry, I didn't want the market to know what I was unwinding or when I was getting out of a big position. So what I did was I hedged it with a straddle, okay, which is another topic. And my complete options, futures, and derivatives course comes out later this year in 2021, which I hope that you enjoy. Lastly, let's talk quickly about the difference between value and growth investors. Now, value investors like Warren Buffett, which you can see on this graphic here, value investors like Warren Buffett buy stocks that are usually cheap on a price to earnings basis and often cheap on a price to book basis, meaning the numbers are low for both those aforementioned multiples. And value investors don't do well when the market is melting up, when all ships rise, because a lot of crappy companies go up. And Warren Buffett is more of a fundamental investor. Now, on the other hand, growth investors like Bill O'Neill owns a newspaper and website called Investors Business Daily. Growth investors like Bill O'Neill like to buy expensive stocks, which tend to massively underperform when the market's not doing well, meaning in a bear market. And so the bottom line is, please don't just look at a one-year track record of an investor or of a fund when monitoring what funds own through their 13F filings. I want you to please look over 5 to 10 years of data at least, if you can find the performance data that is. Let's talk about crypto. Start that again. Let's talk about cryptocurrency company Coinbase and their $1.2 billion convertible debt issuance, which caused the stock to sell off. Now, I'm going to also explain what convertible debt means and why many startups raise money using convertible debt. So when companies need money to grow, they often raise either equity, meaning through going public on the stock market, or they raise through issuing debt, which is a loan. And when it comes to many startups, what they do is they try to raise money every single year from venture capital firms who give the startups money in return for equity. Now, let's say that a startup was planning on raising money every single January 1st for 3 years from venture capital firms like Sequoia, Kleiner Perkins, and Andreessen Horowitz. And then on June 1st of one year, they realized, oh my goodness, something bad happened in our business and we need to raise money fast. But the venture capital firms were only planning on investing in terms of equity every January 1st. And so the startup is having what's called a WIFIO moment, WIFIO. WIFIO stands for we're screwed, it's over. And that's an actual term that people use here in Silicon Valley. And every startup has a few whiffio moments. So let's assume right now that it's June 1st and the startup cannot raise equity from anyone. And so investors smell blood in the water. So what happens is the founder of the startup on June 1st, for example, he goes to a bank. He or she goes to a bank like Silicon Valley Bank, for example, and tells them, hey, can you give us a loan? We need a loan for 6 months and we promise to pay it back. And so Silicon Valley Bank, they say politely, no, because it's too risky to issue debt to you. However, Silicon Valley Bank might tell the startup, how about this? We will loan you money today, debt. We will loan you money today on June 1st at an interest rate of 7%. And then on January 1st, when you raise money again from the venture capital firms, this 7% loan will convert, hence the word convertible. This 7% loan on January 1st will convert into equity at a 20% discount to whatever you plan to raise equity at. So if on the next January 1st, the big January in the middle there, so if on the next January 1st you raise money at a $10 million valuation for your company, then the debt, that 7% debt instrument, will convert into equity at a valuation of $8 million, meaning a 20% discount to the $10 million valuation. So that's how a convert works. And Silicon Valley Bank is awesome at this. And the going rate for many, many years has been a 20% discount when it comes to converts or convertibles. So perhaps Coinbase, ticker COIN, coin, perhaps Coinbase was advised by their investment bankers that, hey, you need more money already? Didn't you just go public though? And the investment bankers likely advised that, hey, you know what? It might be hard for you to find investors to buy more shares today because you just went public. So let's sweeten the pot and let's sell debt to investors so that they can make money off of the interest rate, and then this will convert into equity later on, years down the road, 5 years to be exact. So with Coinbase, investors were actually surprised that Coinbase needed cash already because they just went public. And more shares are going to be created when this debt converts to equity, which dilutes the valuation of a company. And this is partially why Coinbase sold off. Now, to be objective, the debt terms that Coinbase received and the conversion details were quite favorable through this proposed massive private offering. And there's actually there's a saying in Silicon Valley that you should raise as much money as you can when you can, so you can focus primarily on running your business. So the bottom line is, a convert is what investors often raise money from when they're not confident that they can raise equity. So what they do is they raise debt, part of which can convert later into equity, depending on the deal. Elon Musk announced that Tesla won't be accepting Bitcoin as payments for car sales. He also implied that Tesla may be selling Bitcoin because mining Bitcoin is actually bad for the environment. Now, 75% of Bitcoin mining now is done in China. And China is still a massive user of coal, which belches filth into the sky. And this image you can see right here is a coal plant in the Shaanxi province. And between 25 and 30% of all pollution above California is from mainland China. And a lot of it is due to reckless building of coal plants. So, do I agree with Elon Musk's statement? Of course I do, and good for him. And pollution has been so awful in China this century that a few months before the Beijing Olympics in 2008, the government in China shut down all industrial production for a couple months for pollution-emitting plants within a couple hundred miles of Beijing, so that in 2008 during the Olympics, the world wouldn't see how big of a problem pollution is in China. And quite frankly, I'm shocked that more people don't pressure Beijing to stop building coal plants. And perhaps it's because of globalization and that we are all connected to the trading hip, so to speak. And so I say, good for you, Elon Musk, for taking a stance. And the environment haters out there are going to say, wait a minute, Chris. If you plug in your Tesla to charge it and you live near a coal plant, then you're part of the problem. To which I say, rubbish. If you don't criticize Beijing and their policy of mass pollution, then you're hurting the planet. Now, let me talk about the financial implications for Tesla not accepting Bitcoin. Now, I don't know for sure, but based on my many years, too many years, I'm getting old, but based on my many years of investing, I would think that the CFO of Tesla might be worried about the run-up in many speculative cryptocurrencies. And that if a massive amount of people bought Teslas with Bitcoin, then Tesla could be too exposed to the volatile nature of holding too many Bitcoins on their balance sheet. And as much as I love Bitcoin, from a risk management perspective, it's a right decision by Tesla, as investors really don't like earnings volatility. Even if Tesla hedged its Bitcoin positions using options, the exposure is still too high for them. President Biden is talking about making community college free for many Americans. And from a bipartisan perspective, this is the right decision. And I think it could be as impactful as the GI Bill was post-World War II, where millions of Americans benefited from government help with getting an education. And the GI Bill led to massive growth in the United States economy. And I think that education fixes every problem in the world before it happens, which was actually the subject of my TEDx talk. Affordable education is the ultimate equalizer. And the economic benefits, although not immediately tangible, are material. Now look, I'm definitely a capitalist, but the current education system is unfair. Why is it that wealthy people send their kids to the best universities? Is it really because their kids are smarter? In many cases, their kids may have worked hard to gain acceptance. But when a wealthy person gets their kids into a great school because of potential or actual donations or bribes, it hurts everybody. And the reason I do what I do is to humbly help. And my favorite students are the ones that are poor, smart, and hungry. They weren't born with a silver spoon in their mouths. And what we saw with the USC scandal recently is just the tip of the iceberg. Now, the divide between the haves and the have-nothings is getting wider, especially in this pandemic era we live in. And it's really not fair, how extremely wealthy companies get billion-dollar bailouts, yet the average person in this country who can't afford education is left behind. And whatever happened to No Child Left Behind? And what really sickens me is in 2008, when the world was within 24 hours of bank machines not working, the government bailed out the banks who had brought us to the edge of financial ruin. Then 2 years later, in 2010, these bankers paid themselves record bonuses, while so many people lost their houses and the gap between the haves and have-nothings continues to widen. So I recommend that those banks should be the ones who finance the free education for those that need it the most. I recommend that the banks assume all student debt in this country as a tax on their earnings for what they did to younger people entering the workforce in 2008. And I don't think government should be on the hook alone to finance this modern day GI Bill. I really think the banks should volunteer and come forward to make this become a reality. And I humbly believe that in my lifetime, most universities are going to go belly up. Sure, 50 or so universities will exist, as people won't want to go to university unless they get into Harvard or whatever. But paying $100,000 for a 4-year undergraduate education is ridiculous and it's elitist. Also, students don't learn enough, to justify $100,000. And learning online or at free community colleges is an awesome way to provide balance to this great country. Now, the COVID fallout with the gap between the haves, everythings, and the have-nothings is getting too extreme. Now is the time to change the system. And so, if you work at a large bank, God bless you if you can spread the word and do something about this horrendous education inequality. If you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. And big business, especially the banks, should bail out those they bankrupted. Just like the government helped your business, it's time to do your part, big banks. Thanks. Now, in a moment, I'm going to tell you the best way to make a fortune, what I refer to as the golden rule. And when it comes to investing, the best time to make money is when everybody else is freaking out. So if you buy the same stocks that everybody loves, then there are not that many incremental investors out there willing to buy the stock to push it higher. And my hero, Wayne Gretzky, I'm Canadian, my hero Wayne Gretzky once said, the reason he was so successful was not because he skated to where the puck is, rather because he skated to where the puck is going to be. We need to be the same way. We need to be a contrarian if we want to make a fortune. So here, in a second, here is the best indicator when to back up the truck and buy stocks no matter what. I'll show you in a second. And when I show you this indicator in a second, we need to be highly unemotional and buy stocks, even though it might feel like there is chaos around us. Because when it comes to investing, things are never as good as we think, and things are never as bad as we think. We always have to be unemotional when investing, and in all aspects of business. And Warren Buffett said to be greedy when others are fearful, and fearful when others are greedy. He also said the New York Stock Exchange is the only store in the world where consumers sell stuff when it goes on sale. So let me show you the golden rule to investing. So the first thing we do is we go to Yahoo Finance. Then what we're going to do is we're going to type up the ticker for the VIX, V-I-X, and I'll explain what this means. So VIX is a volatility index, and when stocks are very, very volatile, it means there's a lot of fear out there. And so when the VIX spikes, you need to back up the truck, okay, when it spikes to an all-time high. And let me show you the historical data, okay, because I do have the data to back this up. And let me go to the maximum, okay, and we'll get rid of the moving averages because those are irrelevant when it comes to the VIX. Did I type the wrong ticker? I think I did. Hold on a second. VIX, V-I-X. Here we go. This one here, not the opposite, which is short of the VIX. Okay, so the VIX here. So if I look here at the VIX historically, yeah, it works. If I look at the VIX historically, going back to when it was first released by the CBOE, which was back in 1989, if I look at it, I can see that every now and then it spikes. And let me show you what this means, because every chart tells a story. So let's take a look together. So right here, the VIX spiked to around 30, okay? And that was because of the leading up to the Gulf War, okay? Gulf War number 1. And usually what happens is, it's terrible, but when the first bomb drops, that's when the market rallies because it's priced in. Then if we look over here, we see this here was the Asian financial crisis. Okay, and that was the fall of 98. I remember I worked at Goldman then. Things were so scary that Alan Greenspan, the Federal Reserve chairperson, unexpectedly cut rates to help the market, and the trading floor went nuts. I'll never forget that. Then over here, we have 9/11. Of course, there's a lot of fear then. And right here, this is leading up to the Gulf War II, and when the first bomb dropped and the statue of Saddam fell in March or April, whatever it was, of 03, that's when there's maximum fear. Okay, that's when you buy. All right, let me show you a couple more data points so that I can end this topic. Okay, so right here, this here was the fall of 2008. Okay, we were within 24 hours of bank machines not working, and right here, it got up to just under 80. Okay, and at that point in time, everyone was thinking, "Oh my God, things are so scary. I can never buy. The world's ending. Things are never as bad as we think." All right, but I want to show you more recently, okay? So right here, this was COVID, okay? And I know it shows 65 here. It's actually a lot more. So let me do a 1 year to show you what it actually was. Here it is here. It was over, and let me delete these drawings here. It was actually over 80 right here, okay? It was the highest the VIX has ever been. There's maximum fear, and smart people like Elon Musk were buying their own stock. And so the bottom line is, when you see the VIX, ticker VIX, when you see the VIX spike to an all-time high, no matter what, you have to back up the truck and buy, because nobody else will. All right. Next topic. Whoops, I gotta delete these drawings here. Sorry about that. One more. There we go. Good. Okay, great. Cool. All right. In my hand, I'm holding a coffee mug that I bought for my wife, Christine, for Christmas a couple years ago. And on it, it says, I just attended another meeting that could have been an email. Now, as much as I enjoy changing things up and socializing and spending maybe one day a week in the office, I think that if you look at recent economic statistics, working from home has not devastated all economies or all countries. And there's so many benefits to working from home. And I know that unfortunately not everyone has that option. But working from home is great for the environment because we don't have to commute to work. It's also great for our family life as we get to see our kids more often. And by the time that your child is 12 years old, you've already spent 90% of the time that you will ever spend with them. And as hard as the past year has been, I cherish the moments I spend with my teenage sons most of the time. You know, they have not gotten it into any trouble, as my wife Christine and I have been around a lot to watch them. Also, wasting 2 hours commuting to work is awful for our health as well. Now, we have more time if we work partially from home. We have more time to exercise because we don't have that long commute. And we have more time to make a healthier and cheaper meal at home too. And I really hope that companies respect our family lives and let us work from home more often too, as long as, of course, we don't work in the manufacturing sector. Now, the younger generation has this wonderful new YOLO mentality. YOLO stands for you only live once. And why not enjoy our lives by working remotely if we can, and with several part-time remote jobs or side hustles too. And so the bottom line is, do we really need to be in an office every single day? Sure, sometimes. But we've all gotten by using Zoom. And I pray that we come out of this awful pandemic global situation soon. But why do we need to live in big cities anymore? And it's so interesting because the smart money is buying land far away from big cities. And why do we need to hire expensive labor in large cities? We don't. And my employees are in several countries and never in California where I live. And so the playing field is much more fair now, as it doesn't matter where you live in the world, which is incredibly deflationary in the long run. And also that, the cost of technology products is going to continue to plummet in the long run until there are no more barriers to entry based on where you live. And so the bottom line is, in many companies, there is no need to spend every day at the office, which is great for the environment, great for productivity, great for our health, and most importantly, great for our family lives. All right, time for questions. So please type your questions in the YouTube chat. I answer the questions in the order in which I receive them. And I will answer every single question I can. If I miss your question, just paste it again next week. All right, let me move over here. Get my mouse. Got a couple computers running here. Can't find my mouse. All right, hold on. Oh, I know why. It's because on PowerPoint I wrote hide the mouse. All right. I have backup power too if this thing goes out. So give me 1 second. All right. All right. So first up, HCC India wrote, what's the right age to start a company? People often say I'm too young and should do it when I'm mature enough. Now they tell me I can't do it because I'm not too extroverted as well, but I don't give a damn. I'll do what I want to. Oh, I love it. I love it. Yeah. So I don't think that you can ever be too young to start a company. We're going to look back decades from now and say, oh my goodness, there were tons of YouTubers or video gamers that were part of Major League Gaming, that were teenagers that were playing from home during COVID, and this started their economic empire, so to speak. You're never too young to start a company, ever. And if you want, you can take my complete business plan course. And in this course, I teach you how to start a company from scratch, because failing to plan is planning to fail. So check it out. You can see it on Udemy, or you can go to harounventures.com and find it there. All right. So you're never too and you're never too old either. I mean, the average age of somebody starting a company in the United States is now over 50 years old. Crazy, eh? It's over 50. 50 is young, man. And the average life expectancy globally is now 26 years longer than it was back in the 1950s. So you're 26 years younger than you think. All right, give me 1 second, guys. So what I'm going to do is, this mouse is not working anymore. So I am going to replace it and plug it directly in. And I'm so sorry about this issue, which I've never had before, but it happens. Yeah. All right. I've got backups usually for everything. Clearly not today, which I should, but sorry. All right. So please keep typing your questions in. And what I'll do is I'll announce who the, look at me buying time, eh? I'll announce who the winner is very, very soon of the 3 MBA degree programs. So what I'm going to do, doing these things live is always fun. I'm an army of one here. Is I'm going to plug this in directly so that I can get internet to work, or get my mouse to work. And the right way to say mouse is like Canadians. We say moose. It's not mouse. All right, so give me 1 second here. All right, I'm going to plug this mouse in directly right here. And then I'm going to bring this over here. All right, here we go. All right, hold on 1 second, guys. Sorry. All right, hold on. Sorry, guys. It's never happened before, but it is what it is. All right. So what I'm going to do for backup is I'm actually going to, oh, actually I got it to work now. Okay, great. Thank God. Sorry about that. Okay, next up, next question is from Diana, which is, I want to go against the norm and do something most people around me are not doing after weighing the pros and cons. And people tell me to follow the conventions. What do you think of rebels like me? Oh, I love it. I love it. Yeah. So I would say follow your heart. Like, don't give a damn what other people expect of you. You know, there's this great motivational speaker named Les Brown who said, someone else's opinion of you does not have to become your reality. And I believe it. And so, you know, march to the beat of your own drum. You know, follow the past left follow, so to speak, and do what you want to do. And you'll be ultimately successful as long as you're willing to fail a bunch of times. Because as Mark Cuban said, you only need to be successful in business one time. So ignore everybody and do what makes you happy. And if I can be a tiny part of your success, then I've served my purpose in this world through my courses, etc. Yeah. All right. And all the successful entrepreneurs, they never gave a damn what anybody thought of them, ever. And even a lot of them, they hired stylists when they made their billions because they didn't know how to dress. They didn't care what people thought of them. Steve Jobs used to show up to work at Activision and Atari years ago without showering for weeks and weeks and weeks. And they made him work the night shift because of that. You didn't give a damn. Shower, please. But you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. All right. Next up, we've got Jack Sparrow, who's saying, hey, Chris, I'm thinking of working at a company, but I don't have a degree of any kind. Do you think it's easy for me to find work? What are your thoughts? Great question. So there's a lot of people that have gone from the mailroom to the corner office. I got tons of examples. The former CEO of Goldman Sachs, Sidney Weinberg, he went from the mailroom, no education, to the corner office. He became CEO for several decades. Simon Cowell from American Idol, no education. He started in the mailroom. The same thing with David Geffen, no education, started in the mailroom. Okay, and he owns Geffen Records. The former head of ESPN, same thing. The former editor-in-chief of Cosmopolitan, same thing, etc. The list goes on and on and on. So why does this happen? It happens because if you work in the mailroom, I'm not saying you have to work in the mailroom, but if you work in the mailroom, you're very social and you network a lot. You bring the mail to everybody in the morning and say, good morning, did you see the game last night? The Toronto Blue Jays beat the New York Yankees again, as they always do. That sort of thing. And so the bottom line is they know how to network. And anybody can network to get a meeting with anybody in any company. And so the best thing I recommend is that you go to my website and take my complete job course for free, because it will teach you how to network on steroids and get a lot of informational meetings with people that work at large companies. And you always want to find people that have something in common with you, because people want to help you. All you got to do is ask. And so to get my free course, as I mentioned earlier, what you do is just go to my website, which is harounventures.com. Okay. And then when you're on my website, you go to About, and then you go to Power Search. And right here, you can get my complete job course for free. I promise you it works. I put my reputation on the line. It works. It works. Okay. But you got to be willing to do a lot of these meetings. It's kind of like dating. Like networking is like dating. It was so hard for me, because look at me, I'm not the best looking guy at all. Although when I wear a mask, dude, I get more people like looking at me, like women. It's true. It's embarrassing, but it's true, because they can't see my massive nose, which is aerodynamic when I ski and stuff. But when you ask somebody on a date, if you ask a couple people out and they say no, you don't give up. You keep at it. You keep persisting over and over and over again, because all you have to be is successful once. The same thing when it comes to networking. You got to be relentless, like a pit bull on a pork chop as well. And in that free course of mine, that job course, I teach you how to network. And in my MBA degree program, I teach you much more as well. Yeah. All right. Next up, Valens. Hey, Valens, how are you? Valens graduated from my MBA program last year. He lives currently in New Zealand. He's from Indonesia originally. Excellent. Valens, great to see you, bud. So you wrote, hey, Chris, what are your thoughts on China mining coin? So earlier in the show, I showed you why Elon Musk is no longer a bull on Bitcoin, so to speak. He's not accepting Bitcoin for Teslas. It's because of pollution. And 75% of all pollution, or of all Bitcoin mining, is from mainland China. And between 25 and 30% of all pollution above the state of California here is from China because of coal. Yeah. So I'm not favorable on that at all, on China mining coin. And what scares me about the Chinese government, and I only criticize communism, okay, and the governments, not people. But when I look at the Chinese government, it scares me because they're actually creating their own cryptocurrency. And they're going to be able to monitor every transaction and every person as well. The beauty of cryptocurrencies is that it's supposed to be anonymous. And in China, they already have facial recognition cameras that will recognize 200 million people in China. So I'm not a fan of anything China does when it comes to cryptocurrencies. All right, next question is, what are your thoughts on dropshipping businesses? I'm not an expert in that area at all, but what I would say is if you're going to sell stuff online, meaning a physical product, try to sell it before you buy it so you're not stuck with a lot of inventory. All right, Shock Rolo wrote, hey, Chris, hey. Can I say that your MBA degree program is basically a mix of everything you taught in all your courses? I was asking because I wanted to know that after enrolling in the MBA program. Yeah. And do I still need other courses of mine to learn? No, not at all. No, it's brand new recorded stuff. All brand new. I had a ton of brand new concepts as well. Do I talk about the basics of accounting and finance, which I've talked about in my other courses? Of course. But I teach it in a different way. It's all additive. So for example, if you've taken my Udemy course or my other courses online on Introduction to Finance, I show you PowerPoint presentations of how finance and accounting works. In my MBA degree program, I use a ton of props as well, and we go much, much deeper. Yeah. And with all my courses in my MBA program, there's a 30-day, 100% money-back guarantee. You've got nothing to lose and everything to gain. Yeah. All right. And then you wrote, how many more weeks will you be giving away the $909 MBA program for free to the lucky winner? Thanks. Yeah. I don't know yet. Probably not that many more. I just don't know at this point. Yeah. I'm having fun with it. Yeah. Yeah. All right, and I'll ask a question very, very soon, and if you get it right first, then you'll get it for free. Yeah, and it doesn't apply to people who've already taken the course, please. Yeah. All right. Next up, Vishnu wrote, "Hello, Mr. Chris. Hey, hope you're doing well. One question: who do you think will be the first trillionaire?" Yeah. Well, if I'm thinking very, 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 very long term, probably Elon Musk. Because space is going to be a big business one day. It is the final frontier. Yeah. So I would say Elon Musk. Yeah. And Bezos is kind of stepping away from business stuff now. He's doing more pet projects. So I think it would probably be Elon Musk. Next up, we have Noman, who wrote, "Hey, Chris, it's been a long time. It has been. I hope you're doing well. I found a job as a business analyst in education tech. And knowledge from your MBA 1 course is really beneficial." Awesome. Thank you. And congratulations. Next up, Vishnu wrote, "When already existing companies with a lot of history are solving a lot of problems and increasing their market capitalization," meaning the value of the companies, "do you think newly emerging companies stand a chance to become well-known and compete?" Yeah. So I do. I always believe that a couple of girls or guys in a garage can change the world. And I believe that small groups of people can accomplish much more than big groups of people, because we all know that at school or at work, when you're in a group project and there's too many people in that group project, it's chaos. There's too many cooks in the kitchen. So I always believe, the small groups of people can change the world. That's why so many great companies were founded out of garages. Now, if big companies become too powerful, then ultimately governments break them up, right? If they become a monopoly, they get broken up because competition is good for the consumer. And if the Department of Justice in the United States doesn't try to do that to Google, Amazon, Apple, then the EU or European Union will. Yeah. And I think within a decade, those 3 companies I mentioned will be broken up into multiple companies because innovation is dying, right? So when I look at the iPhone, when I first got this thing years ago, my kids and I, we download a new game every week, like Angry Birds, Where's My Water, Flappy Birds, etc. There's no new cool games or apps out there that are revolutionary. And Apple has been muscling their way into the market. And it's not fair for video gamers because Apple has their own product now called Apple Arcade, which is only okay except for the NBA game, which rocks. And because of Apple Arcade, people are not buying individual games anymore. Apple is abusing their monopoly power. All right. Next up, Noman is asking, how long do you think the current crypto market will go down, meaning Bitcoin and Ethereum? Is it a good time to invest for people that didn't do it last year? Yeah. So I pride myself on teaching my students humbly on how to fish instead of giving them a fish. And so in my MBA degree program and my cryptocurrency course, I give you 49 steps, and the MBA version's much more up to date, but I give you 49 steps on how to analyze cryptocurrency companies, because nobody is smarter than you, and we always need to do our own research, and we have to be long-term focused. And my favorite time to buy, like I mentioned earlier, is when everyone's freaking out. When the ticker VIX goes to an all-time high, you back up the truck. And Bitcoin was around $6,000 when the VIX was at an all-time high last year in early 2020. And that's when you back up the truck. That's when Elon Musk backed up the truck and bought his own stock as well. And he's very unemotional too, which is one of the reasons why he's so incredibly successful. Billionaires are unemotional. Yeah. Okay. All right, next up, but I am mining cryptos, right? So I'm mining Ethereum, and I saw a big pullback in my portfolio for mining Ethereum. Do I care? No, because I don't know the path, but I know the destination. All right, next up, No Man wrote, can you talk about the Chinese crypto that's about to launch? Will that bring down the mainstream crypto market? Can anybody invest in that? I'd love your view on that. Yeah, it's going to be tightly controlled because China is a command-based communist economy. It is what it is. And so I'm sure that they're going to try their best to somewhat limit that. And if too many foreigners buy the Chinese renminbi version 2, the next crypto, whatever it's going to be called, I'm sure Beijing will find a way to stop that. They're very much controlling. Yeah. And I despise communism. I love freedom of the individual. I know that my students can accomplish anything. And given the fact that the cost of computing continues to plummet in the long run, you could start a company anywhere in the world for nothing. Yeah. And I want to help you do that too. All right. Next up, Mohammed wrote, how can I motivate myself to continue until I am successful? My energy level is very low and I have difficulty being resilient. Yeah. So I've got a special thing I want to show you. Just get a couple of my keyboards out of the way here. All right. So what I want you to do is I want you to go to my website. Okay. So go to harounventures.com, and I've answered more than 10,000 questions over the past couple of years live on YouTube when you account for all my webcasts, including MBA Q&A. So all you do here is you just type in motivation and hit enter. And what you'll see here is video answers that I've talked about how to be more motivated over the years. A lot of people have asked me this over thousands of questions. It's been amazing. Yeah, it goes on and on and on and on and on. You can also click this next tab here to see where I teach about motivation in my courses and in my MBA program, etc. And if you're already registered, if you click, it'll go directly to that lecture. Yeah. But when it comes to motivation in general, I think that our forefathers and foremothers have known since the beginning of time that you have to take one day off a week. You know, it's why God created the world in 6 days and rested on the seventh. He didn't have to do that, but it's kind of a message for us. And so if you don't force yourself to take off at least one day a week, you will burn out. You will burn out, I promise you. So no matter what, take that one day off a week. You know, for my friends on the East Coast, a lot of my friends will take Friday off. My friends in the Middle East, it'll be Saturday, and for me, it's Sunday. Actually, the other way around. My friends that are Muslim will take Friday off. My friends that are Orthodox will take Saturday off, like Sandy Koufax did, and he was the best pitcher ever. And myself and my friends that are Christians that will take Sunday off. It doesn't matter what religion you are. Just take one day off a week. I promise you, it's the best investment you can make. You can reconnect to your family, exercise, etc. Yeah. And that will help with your motivation. Okay, next up, Noman is asking, traditionally, the COO, the Chief Operating Officer, and the CFO, the Chief Financial Officer, would normally take place the CEO's seat. But now in a lot of companies, Chief Product Officers are taking the CEO role, like Sundar Pichai. What are your thoughts? Yeah. So I would say that a better CEO would be the former head of sales, because a CEO and a founder of a company, they're awesome at selling. That's how they became founders. That's how they became CEOs. So I would say the vice president of sales should ultimately be the one that becomes CEO, because, and I don't want to stereotype, but a lot of CFOs, they're a little bit more quantitative oriented, not all of them, and a lot of CFOs, aren't great salespeople. Many of them are, but not all. Yeah. But in terms of CPO, Chief Products Officer, it's kind of a new title that's gaining a lot of momentum. Kind of like CTO, Chief Technology Officer, started gaining momentum and became an official title back in the late 90s. Yeah. All right. Next question is the International Monetary Fund, the IMF, is the IMF really helping poor countries, or are they just giving ropes around the neck of developing / poor countries? Yeah. I think they do their part to try to convince large countries to forgive debt of smaller countries, so to speak. But I don't think they're doing enough. Yeah, you can never do enough. And I think the IMF should have this massive education initiative where they work on getting free access to internet as well as free access to education for all students in every country. Let me show you what I'm doing really quickly. So many of you know about this Project Magoo that I have set up, where we're building schools in Rwanda based on my profits here. What we're also doing, and it's going to be, and this is one of my students, Vital, who did my MBA program last year. I met him at a Udemy conference in 2019. Great guy. But what we're doing is we're building schools in Magoo, where he's from. And we're doing it so that it's solar powered on the roof and eventually satellite powered as well. And I believe education fixes every problem in the world. Everybody has a fundamental right to education. And I call upon our space pioneers, Elon Musk, Sir Richard Branson, and Jeff Bezos, to do something about it and help get free education beamed into every house, every school in the world for free, unfiltered. And here's an update. So we're scheduled to build at least one school this year in Rwanda. I missed my deadline last year because of COVID. We couldn't get people to work. So I'm actually going there with Vital and Andrew, my son, in this July. My first trip there, first of many. Also, by the end of 2022, I'm going to build another school in Malelo, Kenya. And one of my students, Marin Koros, is helping us to build a school as well. And it's going to be called, in honor of her mother, God bless her, the Leah Koros Memorial School. And because I set a deadline date and I vocalized it, I got to get it done now. And that's what I believe everyone should do with all of their goals. You got to vocalize your goals and set a deadline date, because I'll put pressure on you. And I say it with love my heart to actually get it done. Okay, next question. All right. And if I miss questions, let me know. Next up, we got Demian Valenzuela, who's one of my MBA students in Spain. He's a great guy. And I told him he has to buy a Fernando Valenzuela jersey for himself and his children. Fernando Valenzuela was the best pitcher ever. He played for the Dodgers in the 80s. And so Demian Valenzuela wrote, "My dear mentor," thank you. I hope you're doing well likewise. "My question is, the Pareto principle is applicable in financial models for valuing companies. Is it? And God bless you. Thanks." I don't know anything about that. I'm so sorry. I'm less theoretical. When I teach based on real life practical experience. Yeah. Thank you, though. Next up, Demian wrote, "I've completed 3% of the MBA degree program, and it is incredible how practical and relevant the teachings are of Chris." Thank you. The best way to reinvent yourself and go up. Many thanks, dear Chris. You're most welcome, and God bless you. And everybody taking the program, MBA degree program, please know there's a 30-day, 100% money-back guarantee. If you ask for your money back, I'm not going to be offended at all. I'll still answer all your questions forever on this weekly call. Thank you. Next up, we've got Rafay. And I worked with a guy named Rafay Faruqi at Goldman Sachs for years. Good dude. And his cousin Daniil was my intern at Pequot Hedge Fund. He went to HBS. Okay, so Rafay wrote, "Hi, Chris. I came across the concept of CFDs. I would like to invest in American companies, and apps like FX Pro will allow me to do this. What do you think about this?" Yeah. And then you wrote, I'm planning to start with one-on-one leverage just to be on the safe side. So be really, really careful, please, because Warren Buffett calls derivatives weapons of mass financial destruction. And so if you're going to play around with derivative instruments, I would buy only calls and puts, because the most you can lose is a small amount you invest in the call and the put. Everything else in derivatives can ruin you. Yeah. And my course, the complete options, futures, and derivatives course, comes out later this year. And I'm going to make it fun to learn exactly how to use derivatives. I have a lot of props as well. Talking about futures markets and all that stuff. It'll be fun. It'll be fun. And before you invest, and this goes to everybody on the call, before you invest in anything, I want you to read the investment offering. Okay, so that's the S1 document if a company's going public. It's an annual report if it's a company that's publicly traded. When it comes to any other investment, ask for an investment offering first, okay, before you invest. Otherwise, it's not worth it. So I would read the fine print on that investment offering as well. Next up, Colin. Hey, Colin. Colin wrote, "Hey, Chris, hope all's well, likewise. I'm thinking of starting an LLC. LLC stands for Limited Liability Company. And when you do an LLC, you're protected unless there's something criminal involved. Your liabilities are limited. And whenever you all start companies, talk to a lawyer. I'm not a lawyer. Just to register your company so that, God forbid, if somebody sues you, they can't take stuff away from your family. Yeah. And for more details, go to LegalZoom.com. By the way, I'm not sponsored by anybody, nor will I ever be. Okay. And I got to show you this really quickly because I don't want people to ever think that I'm biased at all. Okay. So I'm focused on you, the student. So if you go to my website and then press, you'll see here. Please note, we don't accept any sponsorship deals of any kind, regardless of the remuneration or compensation from the company. We don't accept any partnership deals of any kind, as we are 1,000,000% laser focused on adding tremendous value to my customers, my students. Yeah. But I would go to LegalZoom.com and set up a call there and ask a lawyer for help. Yeah. All right. And I've got a little wire poking down here. It's killing me. All right. Okay. Next up. Colin is asking, should I get, how can I legally and ethically get a bank account for the company without traveling to the United States? Yeah. Yeah. Well, what I would do is just call the biggest 5 banks in America, Citigroup, Wells Fargo, JP Morgan, a couple others, and ask them if you can open an account in America. They would know better than I do on the legal side of that. Yeah. Okay. Next up. Hey, Chris, how are you? I'm great. How's your family? Awesome. Right now, I'm in Tajikistan and telling everyone about you. Thank you, Erkan John. Nice to meet you. And he wrote, so don't be surprised if you get a lot of followers from here. Thank you. God bless you. I appreciate that. Thank you. Next question is from Noman. Give me 1 second. All right. Next question is from Noman. And if I miss any questions at all, just please paste it again, because I have some in order. And if you put down an internet link, it won't go through. YouTube blocks it for some reason. Okay. All right. Noman is saying, I guess the one single reason we love you, thank you, is because of you being brutally honest with ethics and morals. Thank you. Thank you. Do you have any difficulties in the industry on being an ethical person? It's interesting you say that, because I used to think to myself that, kindness is a sign of weakness. And I remember when I worked at a lot of big companies, when I had my annual review with my boss, they would say, you're doing a great job, whatever. And it was uncomfortable for them to say this next part. They would say, but can you spend a little bit less time mentoring other people? And I can't. Yeah. It's just fun for me. Yeah. But I think if you're ethical in general, you might lose out on making a little bit of money, right? Like I lost out on some deals on Wall Street because I would never be a criminal. And I do have friends who went to jail and I visited them. You might lose out on a bit of money, but your reputation stands forever. And it's interesting because people that are billionaires, a lot of them are good people, but a lot are corrupt. And you wonder to yourself, oh my God, this billionaire just did this unethical thing and got arrested or got in trouble. Why would they do that? They have billions of dollars. It's because they've been cheating the whole time. It's kind of like in a marriage. Never trust anybody who cheats on their spouse. They're going to cheat you as well. Yeah. And as Warren Buffett said, it takes 30 years to build a reputation and 30 seconds to lose it. Yeah. Next up, Gaston wrote, hi, Chris. My best regards from Tunisia. It's 4 p.m. Here. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you. Thank you. And we have one from Algeria and Morocco, and a bunch of students from Egypt as well. First, I've had somebody here from Tunisia. Thank you. And the question is, what can you judge as the golden rule for a startup to survive and thrive nowadays? Yeah. So I think that raise as much money as you can when you can. Because raising money is really, really distracting. And a lot of people think that, if you work at a big company now and you're doing skill X and you're making only a bit of money, you think to yourself, you know what, man, I'm going to quit and start my own company and do skill X and make more. But then you don't realize how much time it takes to actually go out and raise money every year, right? It takes 1 or 2 months every year to raise money from venture capitalists. And so raise as much money as you can when you can. And never start a company, please, ever, without writing a business plan first, because failing to plan is plan to fail. And I have a course called the Complete Business Plan course you can take if you're interested. I also have a venture capital boot camp in the 3rd semester of 4 semesters in my MBA degree program. All right. Next question. Umkez wrote, Chris, thanks for the webcast. You're welcome. Thanks for joining us. I'm trying to develop an app, but I'm not incredibly strong with programming. I'm also worried about having the idea stolen on Fiverr. Any suggestions? Yeah. So when it comes to programming, I think you can learn it. Anybody can. I don't care how old or young you are. All you do is you go to just do a search and But I mention Udemy every now and then. Udemy is an algorithm. If my courses suck, which many of them do, they won't sell. But there's somebody named Angela Yu, who we had a Zoom call recently. She's awesome. Yeah. And she teaches about programming. Okay. And I want you to take her courses. They're fantastic. And she teaches from scratch as well. From scratch. So if you want to learn how to develop web apps, whatever, or websites, you can take this course of hers. If you want to learn how to make apps for iOS, for example, take this. Anybody can do it. Her ratings are insanely high. I'll never have ratings that high, but anybody can do it. And she makes it easy and fun to learn, right? So you don't have to outsource that. You can do it yourself. You're able to do it by taking these courses. Yeah. All right. That's what I would say. And in terms of intellectual property, you can always talk to a lawyer first. Okay, you can go to LegalZoom.com and talk to a lawyer there about trademarking your brand name or copywriting your code or a patent on the wireframe drawing of your app. Yeah. Okay. Manas, how are you? Good morning, my dear mentor. Just forgot to ask you for a week, how is Ruby doing? It's been long since you talked about her. Yeah. Ruby, thank you. Ruby is my cat. The best time to get a cat is during COVID. It's our first pet. We love her dearly. She was this big last fall. Now she's this big. She's growing. Yeah, but she's awesome. She's awesome. Next up, Manas wrote, my mentor, Chris, please. I want a little help from you, and I hope you'll assist me. I literally destroyed my website and rebuilt it again piece by piece. Can you tell me how well you liked it, or how can I improve? Yeah, I don't remember what your website. I'm so sorry. The older I get, the better I was. But if anybody's going to make a website, what I recommend you do, and anybody can do this, right? You go to Squarespace, and this is where I make my website, and it's so easy. If you know how to use Microsoft Word or I don't know Google Docs, you can make a website, and all this stuff here on my website that you see that looks somewhat advanced, all I do is I insert these little widgets. And these widgets all come from a company called Elfsight. And all you do is you copy one line of code, anybody can do it, and you paste it in your website. It's really easy to do. So that's what I recommend doing. Yeah, that way you can work smarter, not harder. Anybody can do it. If I can do it, anybody can do it. Okay. Amarnath is saying, hello, sir. Chris, please. Next up, we have Vishnu, who wrote, thanks versus thank you. Oh, interesting. The word thanks versus thank you. Which one sounds more professional and pleasing when it comes to interviews or professional meetings, Mr. Chris? Do you think there's an explanation behind this? Yeah. So when you write a thank you email, the subject line should be thank you. And then for me, I'm a little bit less formal. You know, I'll write something like, Joanne, many thanks for the meeting today, semicolon. I enjoyed our conversation. If you have additional questions about anything we talked about, comma, please let me know. Thanks, comma, Chris. So that part of the email for me is just, it's a little bit less formal. Yeah. But I think if it's in person and the person is formal, whatever, I don't know, you could say thank you. Thank you for your time. Instead of thanks for your time. Yeah. All right. All right, next up, Elle is saying, hello, Chris. Thanks for all the information you share with us. You're most welcome. Is there a way to know in advance when the crypto market will crash like what happened yesterday? No, never. Because it's tough because you always have to look at fundamentals first, valuation second, technicals a distant third, right? And there's a lot of people are selling because of technicals and because of random data points. You could not have predicted that Elon Musk would have made that comment about Bitcoin. You couldn't. You can't predict what big governments are going to say about Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies in general. And so I always think you need to be long-term focused, because if you're short-term focused and just technical in nature, meaning looking at the chart, you'll get fooled by randomness, which is a great book by Nicholas Taleb. Yeah, you'll get fooled by randomness. So you got to be very long-term focused, and you got to tell yourself, I don't know the path, but I know the destination. And I'm not going to be a tourist in this investment. You know, I'm going to hold it forever, or at least until it reaches your target price. And always do your own investment research, which is what I teach in all my courses and my MBA program. Yeah. Okay. Next up, Manas wrote, I'm really excited to tell you I'm publishing 5 parts and volumes of my book this year. Would love a forward from you. I'll put your forward on the book cover if you allow me to do that. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, send me a LinkedIn message and we'll discuss. Yeah. Thank you. And congratulations on your latest book. And for anybody that wants to publish a book, anybody can do it. All you do is download my template, go to harounventures.com/writebook. All one word, okay? And you download this template. Anybody can do it. When you go to your job interview, you bring your book that you published. When you go to a sales meeting, you bring your book that you published. When you apply to university, if you do that, send in your book, which you published. And this template is just one page of instructions on how to publish it for free on Amazon Kindle, Amazon Print, and then audible.com. Okay. And then just scroll down. This is the whole template, which you can fill in, which is what a lot of my students have done. Then you right click to repaginate the table of contents and you're done. It's free too. And if you don't do it, you got to ask yourself, how badly do you want that job? Okay. Next up, Yakir wrote, "Hi, Chris. Hi, all. I just want to say I'm really enjoying the MBA program. Thank you. Thank you, Yakir. I appreciate it. Thank you. And I hope the new search feature at the top is helpful as well, because it has hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of additional hours of content through Q&A. Yeah, video Q&A. Okay. And Manas wrote, I'm also going to take forwards from your other MBA program students who are my connections. I'd love to put all your forwards on the book. I'm really waiting for that moment. Excellent. And in the MBA program, you'll see that there's a Slack link in the first 1 or 2 lectures. If you click on Slack, you join this networking community of students you could talk to as well, which is fun. And it's free. All right. Cool. And Patrick wrote, gracias. Good to see you, Patrick. And then Kevin, I haven't seen you in a while, buddy. Hope you're doing well, man. Is saying good morning. Good morning to you, too. Next up, we got Lucy Huntley, who I haven't seen before on the call. Welcome, Lucy. I hope you join us again. And Lucy wrote, hello from San Diego. Thank you for sharing the ether mining. Very cool. You're most welcome. You're most welcome. Yeah. And so with my my mining, and I'm losing my value of my portfolio, my mining portfolio went down a lot. And I'll show you here. So if you go to harounventures.com/crypto, all lowercase, you can click here to see my mining computer. And so I'm mining right now in real time. The balance here is $206. It was $240 a couple days ago. Ethereum is very volatile. I'm never selling it. There's 4 cryptos I own. I've mentioned before, but do your research first. And Ether is one of them. Yeah, which is on the Ethereum platform. Next up, Yakir is saying, in terms of networking, I can create value to meetings. Can I do it in a more personal way, like based on mutual interest? Absolutely. So before you go to any meeting for the rest of your life or Zoom call, whatever, what I want you to do is I want you to go to Twitter and click on the name of the person you're about to meet with and find out who she or he follows. You know, if they follow baseball teams, you can talk about baseball if that's something you're passionate about as well. If they follow certain actors or comedians, you can talk about that as well. You can spark up a conversation in the first couple of minutes of your initial meeting. Never jump right into business. You got to bond first always. Next up, we have Dylan. Hey, Dylan. My son's name is Dylan as well. So Dylan wrote, hi, Chris. Can you please explain why you'll never sell any of your cryptocurrency? And share what your long-term goals are for these assets. Yeah. So I have target prices on these cryptos, which are insanely high. And the methodology that I explain how to come up with target prices is all based on what I teach in my MBA degree program and my complete cryptocurrency course. And so I look at the size of the total addressable market for fiat currencies, meaning paper-based currencies. And I have a certain percent I think longer term is going to be cryptocurrency. And so the 4 that I own and will never sell are these. Okay. Bitcoin, and I've said this publicly for many, many years. Bitcoin, Ethereum, or Ether, ETH on the Ethereum platform. Litecoin, which is like Bitcoin's little brother, little sister. And then Ripple, which, yes, has been volatile. All right. But if they do reach my target prices, then sure, I'll pull the ripcord. But I am a long-term investor, right? I don't want to panic when everyone else is. You know, I'm not a renter. Yeah. All right. Next up, Dylan wrote, Chris, you've shared your thoughts on a traditional MBA. So could you please share how you are advising your children when it comes to education? Yeah. So traditional MBAs, I've talked about before, they don't teach you the most important things, like how to sell, how to network, how to find customers, how to manage your own money. They teach you how to manage other people's money, but not your own. Also, ask anybody that graduated from business school or a traditional MBA. So now, do you know how to start a business? They won't say yes. It's crazy. It's a master's of business. And the stuff they teach is antiquated. It was relevant literally last century. Yeah. Now, when it comes to my kids, I will never pressure them to do anything. I've never told my kids, I want you to go to university. I've never told my kids, I want you to have this job or whatever it is. You can do whatever you want. I want you to be happy. And if you get a chance, if anybody has kids or plans to have kids one day, I want you to watch this movie called 3 Idiots. It'll change your life and your whole perspective on raising kids. I want to raise kids that are confident, that are good to God, and are happy. That's what I want. Otherwise, what happens if you force your kids, to do something career-wise that you wanted to do or currently do, they're going to try to please you, maybe. But what's going to happen is when you have small kids, you have small problems. And when you have big kids, you have big problems. I want my kids to be happy and confident. They can do whatever they want to do. My son Andrew, he's in high school here, at public school. I believe in only public schools, unless you live in a bad area. And he's working at Safeway during the evenings. He wants to go to a California-based university, I think, if he wants to. But it's his life, not mine. But I feel like I'm always, as a parent, and as a teacher, I feel like I'm a waiter. Okay, hopefully an okay waiter with good food. And when you go to a restaurant, and this is where I proposed to my wife in Paris, this restaurant. But when you go to a restaurant, you got the whole menu. You can pick whatever you want. You pick 1 or 2 things, whatever. But you're exposed to everything. That's how I feel as a teacher and a parent. I expose you to everything from a business career perspective. And then you decide. I'm not going to tell you what to order on the main course. Yeah. Although the souffle you have to get early because it takes 20 minutes to get ready. Yeah. All right. Next up, AJF is saying, hey, Chris, I'd love to have the opportunity to make your MBA program. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thank you. Next up, we got Manas, who wrote, Elon resisted accepting Bitcoin last week, and today the world's largest glacier broke down into the ocean, causing it to rise, the sea level to rise 200 feet. Do you believe that Bitcoin is killing our future generations to come? Yeah. I think that coal is destroying the planet. And I can't believe it's 2021 that we're still using coal, which belches filth into the sky. I can't believe it. I still can't believe it. And in China, they're still building new coal plants, right? It's not fair to the earth. So I wouldn't say it's just Bitcoin that's bad, but I would say the stance that Elon Musk is taking is very admirable. He's basically saying pollution bad. I agree with him. And heck, where he lives and where I live, he spends his time. He used to own a house around the corner here in Hillsborough. He just sold it. But he spends his time in Northern and Southern California. Above us, 25 to 30% of all pollution is because of China. So we're all in this together. And I think the reason that a lot of companies and governments, don't pressure Beijing, to stop this awful pollution is because of globalization. We're all attached at the hip. But God bless Elon for saying that. Maybe he didn't go a little bit further and mention China because Tesla is going to have a lot of business in China in the long run. I don't know. But I respect him because he usually speaks his mind. Abdur is saying, Chris, is your online MBA accredited? It's not. And I won't do that because if I do that, the price goes up a lot. And more importantly, I'm forced to teach you crap that's not going to make you successful. I don't want any standards body telling me what I can or cannot teach my students. I walk through walls for my students to make sure they're incredibly successful by teaching them only relevant skills that they can apply immediately in their real lives. And there's a 30-day, 100% money back guarantee as well. Yeah. I'd be hurting you if I did that. Yeah. And we have a lot of people actually from great MBA schools that have taken my program as well. And they tell me that they learn a lot more from this than they do from their MBA schools. And even the same thing with my entire MBA course, which is an 8-hour course on Udemy. Just search through reviews, you'll see. Yeah. And there's a lot of bad reviews too. All right, next up, Khaled wrote, not at all, Mr. Oh, you're talking to Manas. Okay. And Manas wrote here, by the way, my mentor, Chris, please, I want to tell you something. By the grace of God and your love and support, I've been invited to give a keynote for the U.S. Nanny Association. It's really awesome. What do you think? Congratulations. Congratulations. Well, you're very inspirational, your brand, and you're well-spoken as well, and incredibly ambitious. And you've written a number of books at such a young age. So I'm not surprised. And you've got that public speaking course as well you put online. So you're well-spoken. I'm not surprised. And congratulations. I think, therefore, I am. Okay. Next up, Manas wrote, have you watched the movie The Founder? It was a biography of McDonald's. And if you need to watch this, it was so awesome and crazy. Yeah. Yeah, I have seen it. And Michael Keaton did a great job playing Ray Kroc, who was the guy that didn't found McDonald's, but he bought it on the cheap. And he was, the movie makes him look pretty bad. Like all Hollywood movies, the rich dude loses in the end, or looks like a schmuck, I should say. Yeah. But I did see, and it's fascinating that McDonald's was successful because of real estate, right? That was the genius of McDonald's. They owned real estate all over the place. Yeah. All right. And Lucy wrote, what is the best way to learn how to use gestures in public speaking? Yeah. So I recommend watching one single video from Barack Obama. And look, I didn't vote for him. Okay, I go Democrat, Republican, back and forth. I'm a libertarian. It's a bipartisan comment we're about to say, but this dude can speak, man. He's awesome. He's the best public speaker alive today. And so what I recommend that you do is you go to YouTube, Barack Obama speech 2004 DNC. Okay, DNC is here it is here. Here's his speech here. So do a search, just do Obama 2004 DNC and watch this. Okay, he uses his hands a lot. He's using a teleprompter too. He knows how to use it. And so politicians have teleprompters on both sides. Okay, and so he's smart. He looks this way, and then he talks a bit and he looks back this way. Versus some politicians, like Trump, call a spade, he would go like this. And then this way. Maybe he has back problems. I feel bad for saying that. But anyway, watch this speech and you'll learn all about how to use gestures. Yeah. And take advice from Obama, not me. He's way more successful than I'll ever be at public speaking. Yeah. All right. All right. Next up, Manas wrote, I want some great movie suggestions from you, meaning which business movies should I watch if I have a week off to do nothing? Any suggestions? Yeah, I'll give you plenty of fun ones. So if you want to learn, if you want to learn about private equity and what that means, you can watch a movie called Other People's Money with Danny DeVito. If you want to learn about the corruptions of Wall Street, you can watch the original Wall Street movie, Part 1, from 1987, Oliver Stone made, which is fantastic. And if you want to watch a television show about business, there's two of them I recommend. Number one, Billions, which is about a corrupt hedge fund manager. And it's so well researched. And I know exactly which people they're talking about in the industry, because I used to work in the hedge fund industry. It's fun. The other one I would watch is something called Succession, which is an amazing show. Incredible acting. It's great. One of the 8 million Macaulay Culkin brothers is in it. I don't know which one. But it's really, really good. It's kind of like a play on News Corp. Yeah. Richard Murdoch's family. Sort of. Check it out. You'll love that. All right, next up, I've got Anurag. I wrote, hey, Chris, greetings. Do you think it's possible your students can learn the skills from your courses and offer it to the world by teaching online without work experience as you live, as you in VC banking firms, etc.? Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. You just have to be willing to network a lot. It's been done over and over. Speaking of investment banking, the former CEO of Goldman Sachs, Sidney Weinberg, he started in the mailroom, no education, and he was CEO for a couple decades. And there's so many examples of this as well. Your network is your net worth. Network aggressively. And when I used to teach during the evenings, I worked in venture capital during the day, but during the evenings I would teach at a bunch of schools. One of them was San Francisco State. I love those kids. Love those kids, especially the ones that are poor, smart, and hungry. So, but when I would teach, what I would do is the very first day of class, and I always have like big class, like 70 students. It was awesome. It was fun. On the first day of class, I would say over the next 10 weeks, if over the next 10 weeks of this class, if you set up 10 informational meetings, if I told you that if you set up 10 networking informational meetings using LinkedIn, if you did it, I would guarantee, or you'd be guaranteed to get the job of your dreams. Would you do it? And all 70 hands go up immediately. Then on the last day, right before the final exam, which was always easy, on the last day, right before the final exam, I would say, okay, how many people did 10 meetings over the past 10 weeks? No hands go up. How many did 9? Usually no hands go up. How many did 8? Maybe 1 or 2 hands go up. And those students that put their hands up are always the ones that got the jobs of their dreams, and they're the most successful and the most happy. And they're never the ones that have the top grades. So the bottom line is, if you network aggressively, great things will happen. It's like dating. You have to do it a lot because you only have to be right in business and your married life one time. Next up, Amar Beer is saying, how do you hire for a company? Yeah. So I hire I'm supposed to hire very slowly and fire quickly. That's just the way people do it. Because if you let somebody sit around too long and they're hurting the corporate culture and they're bullies, and I hate bullies, you got to let them go right away. The reality is I fire a little bit too slow. I usually do the right thing, but it takes me more time because maybe I have too big of a heart. I don't know. But when I hire, what I do is I usually have people intern with me for at least 6 months. And all my employees will interview that person at least 3 times. At least 3 times. I do it one-on-one, group settings, etc. And when I worked at Goldman Sachs doesn't hire the smartest people, which is why I got a job there, but they over-interview. And that's a good thing. And so to work at Goldman, quite often you have 40 interviews. It's crazy. However, the jerk factor there is very, very low compared to other firms. And that's important because we all know that one jerk on your team can destroy productivity and poison the corporate culture as well. So I love to hire people that are humble but ambitious. My favorite combination in the world is somebody that's poor, smart, and hungry. Maybe they were given a crappy set of cards in life. Maybe they're given a crappy set of cards in life, but they're willing to work hard. I love that. And I hire people that don't see it as a job. They see it as a passion. They love doing what they're doing. And that's what I teach also in my complete job course, which you can all get for free today, which I talked about before. All right. Coffee time. And I sound a little bit less tired today. And here's my tip for all of you. And by the way, somebody complained, and I'm fully transparent. Y'all know that. Earlier this year, somebody complained, Chris, you're sounding tired, right? A couple people. And one data point doesn't make a trend, a couple do. And so what I did was I junked my chair. There's no more chair in this office. There never will be again. Emotion creates emotion. So here's what I do in the mornings, right? Because I get up, I get up at 7:30, and this call starts at 8. So I use this product called Vocal Zone. It's just throat lozenges. And a little bit of this Voice 37, I gargle it. So I don't sound as tired. And I mention that in case anybody out there is going to be interviewing at a company and you sound tired or your voice is lost, whatever. These products work. I'm not sponsored by anybody, as you all know. All right. Hey, Jenny. Next up, Monostro. By the way, I loved your wedding video. Thank you. Just an LOL question. Is the cat, the fat one, still lying in your house? It was humorous when your brother was running after the cat for the wedding ring. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. And I think I include that in my MBA degree program. Yeah. So that was, I filmed the wedding video back in 2000 when I got married. And it was chaos. It was like we couldn't find the ring, pretending. And I showed this at my wedding reception. And it got a good laugh. Yeah, the cat's no longer with us, unfortunately. Yeah. My brother, I love my brother. Yeah. All right. Next up, Harsh is saying, And Harsh, thank you for recommending Three Idiots as a movie. You recommended it a number of times to me, and I finally watched it because of you and Kevin Patel, who's one of my amazing MBA students that graduated last year. It's a life-changing movie. Thank you for that. God bless you. So Harsh wrote, why is Tesla marketed as a tech company and not as an auto company? So cars are now computers, right? So cars have more chips in them than computers do. And Tesla has more chips in it than regular cars do, right? It's basically like you're driving a computer. The dash is awesome. It's like you got a jumbo iPad in the middle there. There's no axle either. It's just one massive 900-pound battery that's this thick, that's under your feet, that's 4 feet wide and 8 feet long or something. It's a computer. That's why. Yeah. Okay. Next up, Hari wrote, Chris, what do you think about Matic and Polygon coin? I don't have an opinion on those. Sorry, I have not done investment research on those yet. But I do believe, and I've always said this, that I think that most cryptocurrencies are a scam, right? But there are many, or lots of them, that are great investments. And I always want you to do your research, which is what I teach in my MBA program and my crypto course as well. Yeah. All right. Next up, Manas wrote, Japan is dumping huge amounts of nuclear waste into the ocean, and the Chinese government is not happy about this. What do you think about nuclear waste? I'm surprised. I did not know about that, especially given the fallout they had with the nuclear plant, which could have come Chernobyl with a tsunami a decade ago. I'm surprised. Yeah. I didn't know that. Yeah. Very surprised. Next up, Manas wrote, I hope the situation in the United States is good. India is now facing another pandemic called black fungus. The world, I'm so sorry to hear that, man. The world may face COVID, but we here in India are facing two pandemics together. This means we have, oh God, I'm so sorry to hear. Everybody has got to help India and every country because we're all in this together, right? It shouldn't just be governments or the U.S. government and other big governments donating vaccines and money. Everybody should. So what am I doing, right? So what I've done is, if you're in India or anywhere in the world, doesn't matter. And if you go to my LinkedIn profile, okay, you'll see here that I'm giving away the Hindi version of an entire MBA in one course for free. And basically, it's like the English version. It just has subtitles in Hindi. So go to my LinkedIn profile, click it. You can take it for free. Yeah. And I pray that things get better quickly. Yeah. Okay. Next up, Hari wrote, thanks, Chris, for your awesome MBA degree program. You're most welcome. Which have so many pops that teaches in an easy way about frameworks for investing. You're most welcome. Thank you. We had so much fun making it, and it wouldn't have been possible without my amazing team. You know, Matt Lacus, Doug, Joey, John Klee, who I met on this weekly call, who's one of my students, etc. Yeah, Daniil, of course, too. I don't want to forget anybody, man. Okay. And then Paul wrote, you're spot on, Chris. Thank you for being an inspiration for the good of all. My pleasure, Paul. Thank you. It's good to see you on the call, too. I haven't seen you before, and I hope you join us again. Thank you. Yeah. And if I had another kid, his name would probably be Paul. Yeah. Okay. Next question is, what is your viewpoint about Shiba Inu, please, from Hari? I don't have an opinion, so I don't know what that is. Yeah. Okay. But if you were one of my clients and I worked in investing, I was raising money, I'd make something up. No, I'm just kidding. I wouldn't. Yeah. By the way, if you're in an interview and you don't know the answer to something, what you should do is this. You say, I'm sorry, I don't know, but I'll find out. And you write it down. And then what you do is within 30 minutes of the end of that interview, you send a thank you email. The subject line is this. Thank you. The contents is this. Stephen, thank you very much for your time today, semicolon. I enjoyed our conversation. In terms of your question on X, meaning what you didn't know, I did some research and here are my humble thoughts. Thanks again, comma, your future boss. Thanks again, Chris. Yeah, not your future boss. Don't do that. Yeah. Okay. Manas wrote, thank you for everything, my mentor. You're like the Spider-Man in our lives. The moment we're in danger, you come out of nowhere and webs and the problems is solved within seconds. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I played that new Spider-Man game on the PS5 with ray tracing. It's insane. It's amazing. All right. Next up, Hari wrote, Chris, I feel like investing more in cryptocurrencies now as there's a great dip in pricing, but I don't have money now. How do you overcome this state when I see all my friends invest? Yeah, it takes time. It takes time. And we're all at different stages of our lives. I didn't buy my first apartment until my 30s, right? So it took me a little bit longer than other people maybe. So when you can save, I want you to use the mentality of this. I want you to spend what is left after saving instead of saving what is left after spending. And once you get to a point where you're making a bit more, I recommend every paycheck to have money deducted so it's out of sight, out of mind, and added right into your investment account or retirement account. Yeah. All right. And I'll help you start a side hustle if you want. Ask me questions within my courses or the MBA program if you want, and I'll help you out. Yeah. All right, next up, Manas wrote, God bless you and your family forever and ever. Thank you, man. My regards to your mom and dad, and I pray your dad reads your article in the New York Times really soon. Thank you. Years ago, I mentioned that my dad reads the New York Times, and I would love one day for my dad to be reading the New York Times at home, and he's Egyptian, and my mom, Jackie, is beside him, and he's reading, he's like, my dad says this, "Oh, Habibi, oh, Chris, Tata, oh, Yani, Jackie, come see this. Chris wrote an article in the New York Times. I don't like him very much." No, that last part's not true. But yeah. So, and to get in the New York, and anybody can write an article for New York Times. Here's how you get in. You go to NewYorkTimes.com, and you could submit your article. The way to do it, though, is you have to list a couple of data points as well. It can't just be a qualitative argument. You have to have quantitative with footnotes and stuff as well, which you'll get from Wikipedia. And by the way, if your teachers tell you don't use Wikipedia for research, screw them. Use Wikipedia for research. But go to Wikipedia, do your research there, and then scroll all the way down, and they have a lot of resources, which are footnotes. Go to those footnotes. Yeah, work smarter, not harder. All right, Mr. Invisible, it's been a while. I hope you're doing well. Hey, Chris, do you want to consider giving real projects as part of your MBA program so your students can get real experience and add value to their resume portfolio to get jobs? Yeah. So what I always recommend for my students is I tell them this. I tell them, I can take you to the water, but I can't force you to drink. And so I always recommend that my students team up with friends or people they've just met by networking using Slack, which I make available, Slack channels in my MBA program, and then practice with each other. It's free to get a Zoom account, right? The meeting's got to be less than 45 minutes, and you can't have more than 100 people on the call. But they practice with each other because repetition is the mother of all skill. Yeah. Okay. All right, next question is, what if Steve Jobs never got fired? Would the first iPhone get released more sooner? Yeah. So Steve Jobs was pretty good with market timing. I don't know if it would have been much sooner, actually. So once Steve Jobs got fired from Apple in the 80s, what happened was, Scully took over and there's a bunch of other CEOs like Gil Amelio, et cetera. What they did was they tried to introduce a lot of products that failed because the market timing was off. And timing is crucial in business. For example, in the late 80s, early 90s, Apple released this handheld product called the Newton. Right, the Newton. Brilliant branding, the Newton. They're great at marketing always. It failed. It was too early. It was way too early, right? And so Steve Jobs had the magic of being able to time the market perfectly as well. Yeah. Next up, we got Ryan, who wrote, my dream is to have an aerospace company, enjoy this and join the space game and colonize Mars, etc. To get enough money, I was thinking of building a $1 billion venture capital and selling to a private equity firm. What are your thoughts? Yeah. And one of my students, Mark, in my MBA program this year, he's trying to, his vision longer term is to mine natural resources off of asteroids. I know it sounds out there, but I think it's brilliant longer term. Yeah. So what I would say for you is if you want to be able to raise capital, I would first of all write a thorough business plan And in my MBA program, I have something called the Venture Capital Bootcamp in the 3rd of 4 semesters. And that will help you crystallize your thought process to be able to write that business plan. I also teach you how to present to raise money. Okay, and so I've met with a gazillion startups trying to raise money, and I've got it down humbly to a science on what you need to say to increase your chances. Yeah, and if it doesn't work, my program, there's a 30-day, 100% no questions asked money back policy. Yeah, and if anybody watching right now is a student in my MBA program, and you bought it within the first 30 days, and you think, it's not as good as I thought, but if I get my money back, will I piss off Chris? No, not at all. I don't care. Ask for your money back, and still come on this call and ask questions. It makes no difference at all. Yeah. Oh my God. Mark is one of my students that asked for his money back. Mark, how are you? Oh, God bless you, Mark. So Mark Hoffmeister. Mark signed up for my MBA program, and he had some issues, so he had to drop out, and he said he's going to take it again later. But Mark's a friend of mine from New York City. I haven't seen him like 8 million years. Mark, I hope all is well. Mark wrote, "Hi, Chris. Great to see you again. Great to see you too, brother. Lots of love, man. And I hope everything's going well for you." Yeah. You wrote, "On the flip side of the question of being too young for a startup, can you ever be too old to start a new business?" Absolutely not. Absolutely not. The average age of somebody starting a company in America is over 50 years old now, right? And we're all living 26 years longer today than we did back in the 1950s. So if you're 56, you're actually 29. Yeah. And I remember when I was younger, I thought that when you're 70, it's oh my God, you're about, you got to retire. There are so many people in their 90s they're on top of it, that are with it, that are still going strong. And I think if you retire too early, I think you pass away too early as well, because you don't feel like you're doing something. That's just my humble thoughts. Yeah. But I think the person that's alive to, that's going to make it to 150 years old is on this call. Many people on this call. People are living much, much longer now. You can reinvent yourself anytime you want to. Anytime you want to. Yeah. It's exciting. All right. Great to see you, Mark, man. High five, big hugs, and all that stuff, brother. All right. Next up, I've got Petit Homme. Is saying, "Hi, Chris. What are your thoughts on e-commerce dropshipping these days? Do you have any advice for somebody who wants to start a drop shopping business?" I'm not an expert in that area. I've done some of it. I used to import a lot of stuff from China and then sell it with my kids, actually. We would do it. My kids bought iPhones, and they earned it because what they did was we imported a lot of iPhone cases, and then we would sell them on eBay. And my kids would print out the mailing label, walk up to the mailbox, put it in the mailbox, turn the flag up. And every time they sold one, there's $5 profit margin. And there's a little chart on the fridge, 200 squares times $5. It's $1,000. Once they sold 1,000, they're allowed to buy an iPhone as well. So yeah, I did that, but I did get stuck with a little bit too much inventory. So if you're going to do drop shipping, please make sure that you sell the product first and then you buy it. And that's what Michael Dell pioneered with Dell Computer back in the 80s. All right. Next up, Aditi is saying, I want to start my consulting business on LinkedIn based on learnings from your Udemy courses. Awesome. And if I can be resourceful in any way to helping you, please let me know. That's why I'm here. Thank you. And best of luck. Yeah. And there's over 100,000 consulting firms in the United States. It's very fragmented. Yeah. A lot of people do it. It's awesome. I used to work in consulting too. All right, and Eric and John said, "Thank you for teaching us some Canadian English. You're most welcome. You're most welcome." I don't want to upset any Americans on the call, okay? But it's not about, it's about. That's the right way to say it. I'm Canadian. It's about. All right. Next up, Harsh wrote, "What are your thoughts on Michael Burry's $500 million short on Tesla? I've not seen his investment thesis. My gut is if he makes a lot of money on that, it'll be probably because the whole market crashes. And Tesla is a high beta stock. It's been somewhat speculative. Yeah. Okay, next up, Isaac wrote, "What's your take on socialism versus capitalism? Is the much quoted disadvantages of socialism, like lack of innovation, still true to this day?" Absolutely. So on the political spectrum, you've got disgusting communism all the way left, right? Then you got capitalism, which I love. And then socialism is kind of around here or so. Yeah. I believe in charity. I believe that people that made it should help those that have not. Okay. I do also believe in unemployment insurance. And as a capitalist, it's hard for me to say this, but I definitely believe in free healthcare, right, and education. But I think it should be incumbent upon the biggest companies that have been supported by governments over the years to fund that. Like the big banks that made the whole world go bankrupt also almost in 2008. Then they got bailed out. Then 2 years later, they all got record bonuses. That's BS. Those big companies, from a charitable perspective, should help the less fortunate. We can't just rely on governments. Yeah. But I'm not a big fan of socialism. Obviously, I like it better than communism. But I believe in survival of the fittest, not in a mean way, but I believe in a lot of competition in the marketplace as well. So the best products rise to the top. Yeah. And in Canada, we've got, and I don't want to upset Canadians, but I'm always very honest and transparent. In Canada, and I'm very proud to be Canadian, it's a little bit less capitalist than America. There are pros definitely to Canada. It's clean, it's safe, there's healthcare and all that stuff. But there's an issue in Canada with something called the brain drain, which a lot of people have written about, which means a lot of Canadians come down to the States to make more money or whatever it is. And I love Canada. I absolutely love it. I just wish that the government will be a little bit less left-wing, so to speak. Yeah. And I went to school with Justin Trudeau at McGill years ago. He seemed like a nice guy. He's the prime minister now. A little bit too lefty for me. And so people in Canada, and this is terrible, but oh my God, don't ever talk about politics in interviews because you'll piss off half the people. I don't know what half. But Trudeau used to be a drama teacher. And so some Canadians are wearing red hats, which I've never worn, ever. Some Canadians are wearing red hats that say, "Make Trudeau a drama teacher again." Yeah. Who would want to be a politician, man? It's so hard. You get criticized for everything. Yeah. And D. Yurman, I always think of David Yurman, and my wife, she bought fake David Yurman jewelry once. I remember that. D. Yurman wrote, Chris, I'm totally exhausted from doing the personal growth 6, 7, and 8. Yeah, and that's the first semester personal growth class, 6, 7, 8 in the MBA program. I'm doing it even though I never intend to apply for another job. Thanks for making it part of the foundation. Great work. Thank you. I appreciate that. The great thing about doing that, though, is it will help you from a personal growth perspective to refine your goals. It'll also help you to learn how to network better with potential customers if you have your own company as well. And in the MBA program, there's 5 tracks. And there's these courses, okay? Personal growth, economics management and strategy, sales, marketing, and communications, finance and accounting, and entrepreneurship. I had to cheat and look at that. Yeah. And in the MBA program, there's 100 classes that are about 3 hours each. And after each class, there's a very short quiz. And all you need to do to get the MBA is pass 50% of them. So it's kind of like a menu of all business topics to make you successful. You just take the content you want to take. And if you're not happy in the first 30 days, you get your money back. Now, I'm going to take a very, very quick, a short break right now. Very, very short, less than a minute. And while I take that short break, here is less than 1 minute on what the personal growth track is all about in the program. Thank you. All right. Next question we've got is from Shailesh, who wrote, "Hi, Chris. I hope all is well. Your MBA program is comparable to getting an MBA degree from a big business school with a question mark at the end." Okay, that's a question. Yeah. So my MBA degree program, I humbly believe, teaches you stuff that is going to help you much more than a traditional MBA. Because traditional MBAs don't teach you the most important things, like how to sell, how to network, how to manage your own money. They teach you how to manage other people's money. They also don't teach you how to start a business. Ask people that graduated from business school, the day they graduate with an MBA, ask them, so do you know how to start a company now? They learn antiquated stuff like supply and demand graphs and crap that is too theoretical and stuff maybe that was relevant last century. It's true. I teach you everything that's cutting edge from a social media marketing perspective as well. You know, if new social media platforms are born in the next couple of years that matter, I'll add that to the curriculum. I add a lot of new stuff to the curriculum every year to make it more current, which all my students get access to that sign up for free forever. Also, my MBA degree program, there's a 30-day, 100% money-back guarantee, and you can take it from the comfort of your own home. You can take it on your iPhone, Android, handset, iPad, any tablet, laptop, desktop, television, whatever. Yeah. Okay. And without the debt. All right, next up, Mr. Nobody wrote, "Chris, what are your thoughts on YouTuber Meet Kevin becoming the governor of California?" I don't know anything about that. Sorry. Yeah. All right, next up, Amarnath wrote, "How about the validity globally? Do we need to get attention from employees for employment in other countries?" Yeah. If you work in if you're in a certain country and your dream is to move to another country, the best way to be able to move to that other country is to get a job at a big company in your country that has its headquarters in that other country. And work your tail off, do exceptionally well, and eventually what happens to all people that rise up through the ranks at companies? They get promoted to the mothership in that other country. And the lawyers and the HR people at the mothership will do whatever it takes to make sure that you get the legal paperwork as well. All right, next up, D. Yerman is saying, Elon Musk is a question mark. You wrote, "He has an incredible vision and business mind, but he's very childish when it comes to social media, and that makes me keep my distance from everything he does. Too much volatility." Yeah. So he has an army of lawyers that I'm sure are kind of looking over his tweets, right? And he's actually been a little bit more careful with tweets lately, right? And I think that one of the reasons they're not accepting Bitcoin for Tesla anymore is because the lawyers at Tesla and the CFO, I think, have said, look, it's too risky. You know, Bitcoin's very volatile. If we accept too much of it, you know, our earnings can be a little bit too volatile despite hedging. Yeah. But in terms of his sense of humor, you got a good taste of his sense of humor, actually, on Saturday Night Live a couple weeks ago. I thought he did a great job humanizing himself. You know, he opened up the show with his mom there, which was brilliant. He talked about how he has Asperger's syndrome. I love him for mentioning that, for being transparent. Everyone loves transparency. Yeah. But you could see his humor, especially in the Nintendo skit he did when he was Wario. Yeah. He has a different sense of humor. It's acquired. Next up, Mr. Nobody wrote, "Chris, blockchain is a technology decentralized. But do you think it's behaviorally decentralized? Don't we humans always search for authoritative orders?" Yeah. So it is decentralized, but you can also download the whole blockchain if you want to, for Bitcoin, for example. You got to have a hell of a lot of storage to be able to do it. Yeah. And in terms of the other part of the question, I'm so sorry, I don't fully understand it. Thanks. Next up, Mr. Nobody wrote, "Chris, is your 100-step stock selection process in your MBA program, is this the only method to use to pick stocks, or do you have other parameters? Do we learn something else other than that method?" Oh, I teach a ton more stuff. I'm also adding about 20 hours of new content this year, including advanced options analysis. I'll have a course that's a little bit basic on it. But no, I go into a lot more detail. And so here are just some of the templates, very, very short video. Okay, here are some of the templates I give you all in the finance and accounting track in my MBA degree program, one of which you'll see is the 100-step one. I give you a ton of tools A lot of arrows in your quiver, tools in your toolbox, so you can solve any business problem. All right. Thank you for letting me take a quick break there. All right. All right. Next up, Mr. Nobody wrote, Chris, when the founder makes a large exit by selling their startups, are they paid in cash or stocks? If they're paid in cash, doesn't that hurt them due to inflation? Yeah. So it all depends, right? Sometimes there's a stock-based deal and a cash-based deal. So, for example, if a company thinks that their own stock is overvalued, they'll use their stock to buy another company. They'll create more shares, right? If a company thinks that their own stock is undervalued a lot, they'll use cash if they have it. And so usually deals are a combination of cash and stock as set by the investment bankers in mergers and acquisition situations. And so cash you get right away. Stock, sometimes you're locked up for a while. And usually once the deal is announced, you don't get any money at all or shares until it's been approved by the government, meaning it's not going to get blocked. So like, for example, in 1994, Microsoft tried to buy financial giant Intuit, the maker of Quicken. They tried to buy them. And the deal didn't go through. Like Scott Cook, the founder of Quicken, didn't get any money from it because they had to wait a couple months. And eventually, the United States government, the Department of Justice, Heismaned or stopped the deal because it was anti-competitive. So usually wait at least 6 months, yeah. In terms of hurting them due to inflation, not really, because once you get the cash, then you invest it somewhere else, yeah. Okay, next up, Deb wrote, do you invest in cryptocurrency? What are your thoughts? I do. I've disclosed that I own 4 cryptocurrencies, which I bought years ago, and I'm never selling. So they're as follows. And do your own research, everybody, please. Don't just rely on me. Ether, Ethereum, Ether, which is on the Ethereum platform, ETH. Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Ripple. Okay, those are the only ones I own right now, and the only ones I probably ever owned, and probably will ever own, unless I find something better. I'm still looking for the Google of cryptocurrency. So, in the 1990s, there's a lot of search engines like Yahoo, AltaVista, Lycos, whatever, and then by 1998, Google was founded. And people were like, "Oh my God, this is the best search engine ever." I'm still looking for the Google of the cryptocurrency market. I thought for years it was Ethereum, which I've owned in size for years. But one of the issues with Ethereum, which I own, is that I still can't get my hands around the limit in supply. So there might be a gazillion ethers created one day. However, I love it because it's a platform. It's not just a digital ledger. It's a platform for everything. For NFTs, for example, all those are on here. And a lot of ICOs, when cryptos go public, it's on the Ethereum platform. Yeah. And platforms are always the best investments. By the way, this is whenever I do Zoom calls, I always please unmute. Yeah, this is a please unmute sign for Zoom that happens to have a keyboard in the back. Yeah, and people do that to me as well. All right. Next up, Suraj wrote, hello, namaste. Hello, namaste. Hope you're doing well. Hope everyone is doing well. I'm missing the regular classes, but I'm following up from the recorded videos. I'm having some difficulties, but I'll maintain for regular class. Love from Nepal. Excellent. Well, it's great to have you from Nepal in the program. Appreciate it. Yeah. Okay. And you wrote, my Haroun Education Ventures family. Yeah. Lots of love. Lots of love. I love Nepal. I want to visit Nepal one day. Suraj, I want to visit you one day in Nepal. Will you let me? I want to come see you. Yeah. And when I say something, I make it happen. Come hell or high water. Yeah. And I'm going to Rwanda in July. So it won't be a call mid-July. I'm going there to build one of the schools with Vital and my son Andrew too. It'll be fun. All right. James wrote, hi Chris, my name is James. I'm an MBA student. James, hope all is well. First time seeing you on the call. I hope you join us again. And thank you for being a student. I appreciate it. Yeah. Next up, Vishnu wrote, Chris, do you think that pursuing an MBA from Stanford or Harvard is really worth it? Any other reputed college too? What is the one thing that makes them unique from other universities teaching MBAs? Yeah. So I would say Harvard and Stanford have, of course, a great brand name. And the network is actually great, right? More so with Stanford. But they have great networks. But what I would do is, for anybody that's thinking of going to university, but you're not sure, what I want you to do is I want you to look at your long-term life goals and ask yourself, do I really have to get that degree to reach my goals? Right? So for example, let's say you want to work in a certain industry or get another job. And you think to yourself, well, I can't get that job unless I get that degree from that school. Well, what I want you to do is I want you to set up 100 networking meetings, okay, which is what I teach in my MBA program. 100 networking meetings, stick with me on this. And I want you to do 100 networking meetings to try to change careers. And if after 100 networking meetings, if you can't do it, then think about getting an MBA from a traditional school. But think of each of those 100 meetings as saving you $1,000. Because traditional MBA costs you 100 grand, right? So $1,000 times 100 meetings, 100 grand. I think you can get what you want in life by networking aggressively. So maybe do that. Set up those 100 meetings. And if you can't do it, then go and get a degree from the school. You need to. Yeah. Yeah. So I think that education is in secular decline. I really do. I think that I think only 50 schools are going to make it, universities, in my lifetime. The rest will go belly up. At first, it'll be, alumni will try to save the firm, with big Hail Mary passes, but it's just not going to work. Right, the firm being the university. They're just not well run. And a lot of them are corrupt as well, yeah, in terms of people bribe and get their kids in. Yeah. I'm opinionated today, eh? All right, next up, Tracy wrote, can you talk about your thoughts on QYLD? I don't know what that is, but I'll show you how to do quick investment research on this. The first thing I look at is liquidity, okay? So I'll answer this in a generic sense, because I don't know what that company is. So finance.yahoo.com. Never pay for any finance software. You get it all for free. Okay? Always, always. And by the way, if you ever want to, don't pay for news stuff either. If somebody tries to say, hey, you can't read this article, what I want you to do is copy the article and paste it. And I'll show you that really quickly. Then I'll do, I'll go through that ticker with you. Okay. So let's say here that I'm at the Financial Times website, which is like the Wall Street Journal, but global in nature. It's great. And let's say that I wanted to read this article here, Bitcoin flash crash, amplified leverage and systemic issues. But I click this, I'm like, dude, they're making me pay. I don't want to pay. So what you do is you copy the headline, okay, and you paste it here, and you click, and lo and behold, wow, I get it for free. Why does this work? Because if the FT didn't allow this to work, then all their articles wouldn't get indexed from an SEO perspective. It doesn't work on all websites. And by the way, today, WSJ.com is free for everybody. So it's just a one-day free thing they're doing. But let's go here and I'll search, pardon me, for QYLD. Okay. Covered call. Okay. Yeah. So this is something I'd have to do a lot more research on. It's an options instrument that represents I guess the NASDAQ, right? Yeah. So here it's mostly tech stocks. Now, the NASDAQ is mostly tech stocks, but there are biotechs as well. If you buy what is called the Qs, this is basically the tech stocks in the NASDAQ. So if you go to holdings here, yeah. But in terms of covered calls and whatnot, it's something that I'm going to teach in much more detail in my MBA degree program, as well as my complete options course coming out later this year. Yeah. And if anybody's going to play around with options, please be careful and only buy puts and calls, because the most you can lose is the small amount you buy in puts and calls. Don't write puts or calls, because if you write a call, the losses are infinite. Kind of like if you short a stock, which you shouldn't do. The losses are infinite. If you want to short a stock, buy puts instead, which I'll talk about in my course later this year. Next up, D. Yerman wrote, I'm at 11% completion in the MBA program. It's challenging me like never before. Great. Ever since the student said he does it for 3 hours daily, I've accepted the challenge and I've upped my study game. Let's get it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Yeah, it's fun. You'll love it. Yeah, and if you don't, you can get your money back. Okay. Give me 1 second. Okay. Next up, James wrote, Chris, my name is James. I'm in your MBA. Thank you. Appreciate it. I joined mostly for networking opportunities. My question is, can you provide any networking opportunities? Do you know of any really good ones? Yeah. So within the MBA degree program, what you do is in the first couple lectures, there's a link to oh my God, I can't talk today. Slack. There's a link to Slack. And there's a Slack channel just for MBA students as well. And once you graduate, there's a much more comprehensive alumni network that you'll find on LinkedIn. And once you graduate, you can contact my head of alumni, who is one of my amazing students that graduated last year in Australia, named Jason Blythe, Blythe. T-H-E, yeah. And you can contact him and ask to get into the LinkedIn alumni network as well. Yeah. Okay. All right. In terms of the next question, Vishnu wrote, why is Google still an LLC? Yeah, I don't think it is. Is it? I don't think it is, because an LLC, so a lot of startups, what they do is they start out as LLCs, and then the investment bankers tell them, hey, if you want to go public, you got to change your status to a C Corp, because a C Corp allows you to have much more owners of the company than an LLC. Yeah. C Corp's more expensive though. So a lot of companies, I recommend starting with an LLC, talk to a lawyer first, and then eventually once you grow, you become a C Corp. For me, I've set mine up. I used to be an LLC. I'm now an S Corp. Yeah. Mr. Nobody wrote, Chris, all these big techs were started in the 80s and 90s, some in the 2000s. They had an edge as they were early when the United States was going through a tech boom. What industries do you see in the future for new companies? Yeah. So I would say any market that hasn't yet been disrupted by technology will get disrupted by technology. And the heavily regulated industries, government regulated industries in the past are the ones that have seen the least innovation. So financial services and healthcare are heavily regulated. And so I think if you're going to look to invest in tech sectors or industries, I would say healthcare and financial services, right? So fintech companies or healthcare tech companies, yeah. Look for sectors that haven't been Ubered yet, yeah. Okay. But there will always be big demand for natural resources, always, because there's a scarcity. All right, next up, Manaz wrote, and one more thing too. I think Africa really is the final frontier, right? Once people figure out how to invest and prosper there, right? And I'm investing a lot in Africa through my charity, right? It's not really investing. It's giving money away. I'm building schools in Rwanda and then next year in Kenya. And I'm going to Rwanda in July as well to work on the school. All right, Manasro, Wells Fargo is now introducing Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. Is that amazing? Yeah, if you're a financial services company, you profit by allowing people to transact in different securities, right? And so allowing you to transact in in funds that own cryptocurrencies is the smart thing to do. Jamie Dimon, the CEO, he's awesome, of JP Morgan, for years has said he's against Bitcoin. He thinks it's a scam or something like that. Now they've embraced it, right? So if you're a market maker, you can make a lot of money by, matching buyers with sellers. That's what a market is. You make money off commissions. And if you're a large financial services company like Wells Fargo, ticker WFG, which used to be the largest market cap bank in the world, you have to make markets in all major markets, including cryptocurrencies, if you want to make it longer term. All right, next up, Charles. Hey, Charles. Charles wrote, thank you, Chris, for your practical and affordable programs. You're most welcome. Thank you. I feel I'm capable of starting a corporate finance firm after taking some of your courses on Udemy. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. And if I can be resourceful in any way to helping you, please ask me questions here on this call or in my MBA program or in my courses. I'm always here for you forever. Yeah. For all my students. Even if people on this webcast never take my courses, I don't care. This is fun. Yeah. All right. I've got my microphone up here. It's a Shure SMB, and so it's slightly out of the picture here. I have it set up there. Yeah. Ooh, I don't like that shadow on the back there. It's not professional. I'll have to fix that for next week. Yeah. I'm going to a stylist this weekend as well. A buddy of mine who's an executive at a big software company here. I asked him to help me up my game, so I want to kind of push the goalpost out a bit as well. Yeah. All right. Next up, D. Yerman wrote, Chris, I'm considering taking the Dale Carnegie sales class you recommend. It's great. Do you think it will help me gain clients for my insurance and financial advisory business only after I complete my MBA? Yeah, absolutely. Because, so Warren Buffett, he went to the same business school as I did. That's one of the only things we have in common. And his net worth is a gazillion times more than me. But after he graduated from Columbia, he never put his degree from Columbia on his wall. What he did put on his wall instead was his Dale Carnegie Certificate of Completion. And he's publicly said that he would not be nearly as successful as he is today without learning how to speak effectively by taking the Dale Carnegie course. It's true. It's true. Whenever we watch an interview with Warren Buffett on television, we never say to ourselves after the interview, gosh, I'm confused. He's able to communicate, which has been brilliant marketing and free publicity for him. Give me one second. So when my throat clogs up, I have throat 37, which is what opera singers use, apparently. All right, I'm back. Okay, next up, Mr. Nobody wrote here, Chris, is the 49 Steps Crypto Analysis included in your Udemy course or in your MBA course? In both. But in my MBA degree program, it's much more up to date with a lot more detail as well. Yeah. And I worked so hard in that course, the cryptocurrency stuff. I worked so hard, and I hired this guy, and I'll never say his name. I hired this guy to proofread and help me with it. He was so good that the NSA knocked on my door several months after I published the course. I was scared. And the NSA sat down, this dude, really nice guy. And he asked me a lot of questions about this person I had hired. And the reason he was asking, I'm pretty sure, is because this guy was so good that they wanted to hire him to work at the NSA. Because the NSA, National Security Agency, is the one that came up with SHA-256, which is the secure algorithm that Bitcoin is based on. Yeah. All right. Fully transparent. A little too transparent. All right. I hope the NSA is not watching this. All right, here we go. Oof. Okay. All this goodwill gone with that little gesture. Yeah. I'm just kidding. Sort of. All right, next up, Vishnu wrote, YOLO, meaning you only live once. Live it like you remember it forever. Give hope to others to live their life like they remember it forever as well. Any thoughts on this, Mr. Chris? I love it. I love it. And in terms of inspiring other people, I think it's a great way to live your life. I'm on the board of this charity in East Palo Alto, where the high school graduation rate's only 40%. And we help students get scholarships, and we teach them, which is why my entire MBA in one course is online. It's because I used to teach them for free. And in this charity, there's a great quote from David, who's the founder. And David said, don't expect to accomplish your dreams in life unless you help others accomplish theirs first. And that's important because when one teaches to learn, and when you mentor other people, you're kind of mentoring yourself as well. It's true. So make sure you mentor others. Hey, Madaf, how are you? And Vishnu wrote, yes, Angela Yu's courses on technology are amazing, just like yours, except they're tech related. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, we had a great call recently. Yeah. Next up, Michael, how are you? Michael is one of my amazing students who's based here in Sonoma, which is about 45 minutes north of San Francisco in wine country. He has a wonderful charity as well. He's doing wonderful things. And in his charity, everybody affiliated with his charity and everybody that attends his sessions that need help get all my programs for free forever. I love you, Michael. It's good to see you. So Michael wrote, good morning, Chris. I want to say hi and thanks for being a great example for us of how to succeed in business and maintain your ethics. Thank you. I appreciate that. And then he wrote, you're also a great role model for how to gain life by giving it away. Thank you. And then you wrote, enjoy the rest of your week and best to you and your family. God bless you, man. God bless you. And thank you so much for doing what you do. Now, we're all here to serve others. Yeah. And all of our goals should be that when we leave this planet, we leave it in better condition than when we entered it. Yeah. Which is why I had those kind of extreme comments and justified comments about the Chinese government with coal earlier today. Thank you. Michael, great to see you, brother. Lots of love. Next up, we got Hari, who wrote, Chris, can you please suggest a profession where organized skill, people management skill, traveling and teaching is integrated? I'm a mechanical engineer now, and I'd like to realign. Yeah. So if you want traveling and teaching and organizational people skills, I would say teach online, right? Because you get your fix with the teaching side of it by teaching online. You can also do it from anywhere in the world, teaching online, right? So that's the travel component. All you need is one of these things, which we all have. And as Seth Godin said, you already have everything you need to build something far bigger than yourself. In terms of people management skills and organizational skills, when you build out your brand and your teaching empire, whatever it might be, you'll hire other people and you'll get your people skills there and management skills there as well. So, yeah, and take it from me, please, because I've made every mistake there, including not speaking well. I've made every mistake there is to make when it comes to online teaching. I have. So learn from my mistakes, please. Yeah. And you can always learn from people that you work for that suck because you can learn what not to do. And I certainly suck a lot in my courses. If you want, do a search on my 1-star reviews, of which I probably have more than anybody on the planet. Yeah, it's not good. All right. Now, in a minute, I'm going to be asking you all a question. And if you answer the question correctly, you win my $999 MBA degree program. Now, the rule is this, though. You can't already be registered in the program. Okay. All right. So I'll be asking it very, very soon. Okay. Actually, I'll ask it right now. Here we go. Ready? So whoever answers it correctly, right, by typing it, wins. The question is, what was the name of the ticker, the 3-letter ticker that I talked about, which is the golden rule, meaning you buy when it reaches an all-time high. You buy all stocks without even thinking. What was that ticker? It's 3 letters. Yes, Arya got it. The VIX. Very fast. That was really fast too. Nicely done. Excellent. All right, Arya, you won. Congratulations. So what you need to do, please, is reach out to me on Arya. Reach out to me over LinkedIn, and I'll provide you a coupon to get free access to my $999 MBA degree program. Congratulations. All right. That was fast. Wow. Amazing. Okay, cool. All right, next up, Ab wrote, love your stuff. I bought your accounting and finance course on Udemy. I just want your thoughts on Bitcoin and crypto in general. Is it the future? Yeah. So whenever I look at a potential investment or a sector to invest in, I usually start off by asking myself this with every stock, with every investment. In 5 years, is this company or sector going to be more relevant or less relevant than it is today? I've always done that. And so, yes, I think cryptocurrency is going to be much more relevant in 5 years than they are today. So I'm bullish. But the time to buy cryptocurrencies and any investment is when the VIX reaches an all-time high or spikes a lot. Because, as Warren Buffett said, you want to be greedy when others are fearful and fearful when others are greedy. Yeah. And now in the markets, for me personally, I'm not buying. I haven't been for the past month or so, whatever. Things are just a little bit too overheated. Yeah. When there's panic in the streets, when there's blood in the water, that's when I buy. And when I buy, and when I suggest all of you buy when the VIX spikes, it's going to feel so uncomfortable. And people are going to think you're crazy for buying. That's good, because there's not much competition out there when that happens. And remember, things are never as bad as they seem, and things are never as good as they seem when it comes to investing. All right. And people that are unemotional in business in general do exceptionally well. You know, Elon Musk is unemotional. You know, he's very logical. And he backed up the truck and bought a ton of Tesla stock in March of last year, 2020. And he's made a fortune off it because of that. So always be unemotional in business. Always, always, always. And I used to work for a couple billionaires. I'll never tell you which ones. I remember one of them in particular. I was on the trading floor at one hedge fund, big hedge fund I worked at. And I remember one of our companies got acquired. And we were like, woohoo, big bonus, whatever. And we're all high-fiving. And this person, the billionaire founder, just working on his computer. Just whatever. And when the market was crashing, just working on his computer, even killed. You have to be unemotional in business. Yeah. And people are incredibly emotional about the stock market, always. Okay. All right, next up, Randy. And if I missed any question, paste it again, please. Next up, I've got Randy who wrote, "Hi, Chris. I've enjoyed the MBA course, and there's a few times that we've spoken. Thank you. I appreciate that, Randy. Thank you. I recognize your name too. Thank you." All right, next up, Ryan wrote, "Oh, shoot, I forgot to mention building a $1 billion company through M&A roll-ups or maybe a conglomerate. I'm sorry I forgot to add that. Thank you for everything you do, Chris." Yeah, and if that was with respect to a question you asked earlier, what I recommend doing is put together a business plan first, okay, which I teach in my MBA degree program in the venture capital bootcamp portion in semester 3 of 4. Then once you create that rock-solid business plan, I teach you in the MBA program how to create 10 simplistic slides that work more often than not to help you raise money. Okay, and always use OPM, other people's money. I don't want you to use your own money unless you have a lot, because I want you to live a happy life and not be stressed at home. And there are people that invest in your business. You just have to network aggressively to find them. They're out there. Okay. And whenever you raise money, obviously get a lawyer to write up the investment offering first to protect you and your family. Okay. Next up, Roberto Martinez wrote, "No question from me. Just many thanks and blessings to you for being a teacher and adding value to people's lives." Thank you, Roberto. I appreciate that. God bless you. Lots of love. I see Gil there. Hey, Gil, how are you, man? Gil is Canadian. He's from British Columbia, the West Coast of Canada. And he's one of my amazing MBA degree students. Good guy, too. All right, next up, Anurag said, "Hey, Chris, if you could own only one stock for a lifetime, which would it be?" Which would it be? Let me replace that with one ticker. I would own SPY, okay, which is the ticker that represents the S&P 500. It's an ETF, meaning there's no crazy fees in it that are hidden. Don't ever buy mutual funds, okay? Mutual funds are a scam. The fees are high. So here, this is just the United States economy. The 500 stocks represents the United States economy. Here we can see the breadth and depth of the U.S. economy, right? So the biggest component of the U.S. economy is tech, which will go higher in the next couple of decades. It's 23% of the U.S. economy, right? The second biggest is financial services. Healthcare is big as well. In terms of the biggest holding, not surprising, the top 10 holdings of the S&P 500 are tech companies. Yeah, you even got Berkshire Hathaway down there, which is Warren Buffett's big insurance company. 28% of Warren Buffett's portfolio is in insurance companies, right? And it has been that way forever. He invested in Geico back in the 60s. And the reason why he invests in insurance companies is because insurance companies throw off a lot of cash. They make a lot of money. He uses the proceeds, the cash, to invest in other companies. That's what Warren Buffett does. And when it comes to insurance companies, whenever there's a natural disaster, people think, oh my gosh, insurance companies are screwed. You have to pay out all these premiums. No, their business picks up a lot because a lot of people buy insurance then. Yeah. Okay. Next up. Oh, yeah. Anurag wrote, looking cool, sir, with the new avatar in suit. It's different. It's fun playing grown up here, man. Yeah. I got this. What is this brand? I don't even know what it is. Rod and Gun. Yeah. Made in Italy. I got it on Amazon. Right. So anyway, I know. And the problem is it's linen. I'm such a sucker for linen, right? Because it always looks great in pictures, and then you buy it and you sneeze once, and there's 8 million wrinkles on your sleeve. Yeah. Thank you. All right. I buy a bunch of suits from Amazon, and I get them shipped to my house, and I return most of them, but I keep one or two. Yeah. All right. Ab wrote, I've seen the movie 3 Idiots. It's a good movie. Please, everybody watch it. Everybody watch it. It's great. Especially if you have kids. Next up, we have Lachelle. Hello, Lachelle. First time I've seen you on the call. I hope you join us again. And Lachelle is from Johannesburg, South Africa. And I've got a bunch of students from South Africa in my program. Yeah. I've got Andrew Cooper and Kim Cooper, husband and wife team from South Africa. They now live in British Columbia. They're awesome. They're family. So Lachelle wrote, hello from Johannesburg, South Africa. I'm the proud owner of your business plan writing course and your entire MBA course and your complete financial analyst course and your introduction to finance course. And I'm enjoying them all. Thank you, Chris. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. Next up, Marites wrote, I'm going to incorporate a business consulting company, and I intend to trademark 2 distinctive words that make up the company name. I found out that someone owns a domain name for the 2 words I want to trademark, but the domain name has no website. Can I still trademark the 2 words so I can issue a cease and desist order to the domain owner? Yeah, that's tricky. Yeah. If it's a generic type name, probably not. Precedent, if they had it before you, probably not. However, what I recommend doing is go to LegalZoom.com. And I did this actually to trademark and copyright my courses. Okay, so you can do it yourself as well if you want to, but the cheapest way to do it, cheapest way to talk to any lawyer, I'm not sponsored as y'all know, is right here at LegalZoom. You click on intellectual property, and then you set up a call with a lawyer there and do a trademark search. Okay, and they will advise you if you can or can't get that trademark. So for example, for me, recently, I tried to trademark one of my courses. I think it was the Complete Job course. And my lawyer told me, he said, Chris, this is such a generic name. They're not going to approve it. And so we changed it to the Complete Job course by Chris Haroun. Yeah. All right. Next up, Michael wrote, I watched a great documentary a few years ago that showed how the carbon from coal plants can be diverted to feed algae growing ponds that can be used to produce biofuel. And BP has been, British Petroleum, has been piloting some of these projects and showing some success. God, I hope so. When it comes to biofuel, ethanol is all corn-based as well. So people use that quite a bit. It used to be a hotter market, when oil was $150 a barrel in the summer of 2008. Yeah, but awesome. Yeah, I'm a big believer in alternative energy. Absolutely. That's why I really respect what Elon Musk said the other day about Bitcoin. Yeah. Next up, we have Speaking Podcast, who wrote, I've done plenty of courses in my life, and your crypto course is amazing. I wish you taught me in college. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. And when I was a student, like when I was younger, I remember they thought I had a learning disability. And they wanted to fail me in the 8th grade and the 6th grade as well. And they sent me to this learning disability center in Oakville, Ontario, where I'm from, Canada, on Lakeshore Road called Chisholm, to see if I had a learning disability. And it turned out, well, screw those teachers to begin with, right? That thought they wanted to fail me in the 6th and 8th grade because teachers are supposed to build up confidence. But what happened was my dad did something I'm going to show you in a second. He bought a product that changed my life. And my grades went up a lot when he bought this. And I still have it. This is it here. This changed my life. He bought it for our family. And I enjoy using technology. I enjoyed writing papers on this thing. It was just kind of fun. Kind of fun. It's old. See, I'm a Blue Jays fan. Bunch of stickers on it and stuff. It changed my life. So if anybody out there hasn't found their passion yet, and you have bully teachers or managers, whatever, talking down to you, you've got to take a long walk and think to yourself, what do I enjoy? What do I love doing? And whatever it is you love doing, no matter what anybody says, that needs to be your career. That needs to be your career. Yeah. And when I took accounting for the first time in undergraduate university at McGill University, I got a D. And the reason I got a D was because I was memorizing accounting. You can't do that. If you understand stuff and why things are the way they are, it's more fun that way, and you retain it as well. Okay, next up, Fred wrote, hey everybody, hey man. Next up we have Carl. Carl wrote, hello Chris, greetings from El Salvador. Great to have you. Thank you, Carl. First time I've seen you. I hope you join us again. And L is saying, hello Chris, greetings from Estonia. Excellent. Great to have you. Thank you. I love the fact we have such a global presence here. And in my MBA degree program, we have students from all over the world. And quite often we learn more from each other than we do the teacher. It's true. And Carl wrote, you're an amazing teacher. Thank you. I appreciate that. God bless you. All right. And Amaranth is saying, any discounts? Yeah, I'll show you how to get my courses discounted. So what you do is just go to learn.harounventures.com. Okay. Learnt. I'm a teacher and I can't spell learn. Don't take my courses, people. Okay. But when you go here, and I'm registered for all these, but when you go to this website, you'll see discounts, right? So I've got $50 for 9 courses, and the other courses are $10 each. Yeah. And the MBA program is $9.99. So you can scroll through this. I have a bunch of free courses too, if you want, like a bunch of life hack ones, how to vlog on YouTube and all that stuff. Yeah. But you go there, check out my courses. They're all discounted, except for the MBA for now. So you can check that out if you want to. And there's always a 30-day, 100% money-back guarantee with everything I teach. Okay. And I can't spell. It's okay. Google corrects me. All right. And Manxie wrote, you're awesome. Thank you. No, I appreciate it. I have your presentation course. Oh, my God, it's so helpful. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. And Randy wrote, I love it. 1,000%. Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. Next up, we have Nabaisa, who wrote, hi, Chris. Once we complete your online MBA course, what should be the next learning stuff to do? What would you recommend to learn to keep growing intellectually and financially? Yeah. So I'm going to keep adding new content every year. So once you buy my MBA degree program, you got it for life. And every new lesson I add, I'm going to be adding a ton of stuff every year. Later this year, I'm adding stuff on options, derivatives, in a fun way. Okay. And I'm also adding a lot more stuff about real estate investing. And whatever the next social media product is that people use to, to market themselves for free, I'll be adding that to the curriculum because it's so interesting. My kids' jobs have not been invented yet. And the way they communicate with their friends have not been invented yet. And whatever that new invention is, solve for X, I will add X to the MBA degree program. So if you purchase the MBA degree program today or whenever, you have access to everything I add forever. And I'm going to keep adding value. Now, what I've added is something called Power Search to my website. And give me 1 second here. I want to show it to you. Okay. So actually, I've got a little intro video too. I gotta go there. Hold on. All right. So if you go to my website, and at the top of every lesson of mine also, on all my courses, you'll see this box here, which is Ask Chris Anything. And this here, I'm just starting to put this into production now. It's not perfect yet, But basically, you could search for any word you want and see a video of me answering that question. It also indexes all of the MBA degree content as well. So for example, let me see a question somebody asked recently. Somebody asked about management and people skills. So if we search for this, you see here all the videos I've made on YouTube, for example, and I've answered over 10,000 questions on YouTube Live over the past couple of years, including MBA Q&A sessions. But you can click on any of these to find out about my management questions, of which people ask, oh my God, over the years, a gazillion questions. I have over 1,000 vlogs. That's me when I was younger. Over 1,000 questions people have asked, or I've done over 1,000 vlogs in a row. And if you click here, this next tab, you see within the MBA degree program, Introduction to Portfolio Management. This is in my personal finance course. This here is in the MBA degree program, all of that stuff as well. And if you click it, and if you bought the product already, you get immediate access. Yeah. And then there's other too, like downloadables and all that stuff. And this is, it's a powerful feature, which is why we call it Power Search. So yeah, I hope you enjoy it. But I'll always be adding more and more stuff. Yeah. But I can take you to the water, but I can't force you to drink. And so you have to practice this stuff too. So if you're practicing interviewing or presenting, then in my MBA degree program, find somebody in Slack, of which a lot of people are signing up for within the MBA program. Okay. I provide you with Slack. I explain it all in the first couple lectures. Find somebody else that you want to practice with. And what you can do to practice with each other, presenting or interviewing, whatever it is all you need to do is go to Zoom and sign up for a free account, right? So Zoom is free right here if you want to have less than 100 participants, and the meeting has got to be less than 40 minutes. Yeah, it's a great deal. It's a great deal. All right, we got about 10 minutes left. And if I don't answer your questions now, just copy them and paste them, because I'll be doing this every week forever. Okay. Next up, Patrick wrote, Chris mentioned other people's money and one other movie, OPM, that's right, with Danny DeVito. It's great if you want to learn about private equity. Wall Street Part 1. And then you wrote, I didn't get the exact name for the second. Kindly help if you picked, yeah. So I would say it was a television show called Succession. And it's fantastic. It's kind of like if somebody made a show about Rupert Murdoch, who started Fox. So just do a search here. It's a great show. Great show. Yeah. And in this show, you've got one of the 8 million Macaulay Culkin brothers. Where is he here? Kieran Culkin. Yeah, who actually does a great job acting. He's great. And a lot of other famous actors and people with British that do American accents, which is common these days, I guess. Yeah. But not the other way around unless you're Johnny Depp. Okay. Next up, Ryan wrote, what do you think is the best way to go about finding and getting board members on your board? Yeah. So what I recommend doing is do an advanced search in LinkedIn and find people that have one or two things in common with you. Like they went to the same school as you, high school, whatever, any school. And they also live in the same town as you or from the same town. And you want to find people that work at big companies with reputable brand names. So for example, let's say you're starting a search company and you want people to take you more seriously. So what you do is you do an advanced search to find people that maybe went to your school, that are also from your hometown, that also work at Google. And then on the second page of your 10-page deck to try to raise money, which I teach my MBA program, on the second page, you use the Olympic ring process, which means you have you and two other people that work with you. And then down here are two advisors. Okay. And you put the Google person here with the Google logo below it as well. Okay. And call it the board, but think of it as board advisors, because board member is a legal thing you got to be careful of. And don't ever join a board as a board member unless the company provides you with D&O insurance, which stands for Director and Officer Insurance. Why? Because what happens is if something goes wrong with the company, investors sue the board quite often. And if the company didn't provide you, a board member, with D&O insurance, then you're personally liable. Yeah. And talk to a lawyer first, always. All right. And Ab wrote, you're absolutely right about Canada. I live there. Yeah, I love Canada. I miss Canada. Okay, and heathens. Hold on one second. Sometimes it skips on me and I do a search for the word heathen. Here we go. Heathens Nation Music, H&M. And I used to shop at HMV, which is a record store. And they call it HMV because it stands for His Majesty's Voice. Yeah. But Heathens Nation Music wrote, going off this capital/communist spectrum, do you recommend reading material that leans Marxist communist solely to get a better understanding, or is it a waste of time or at worst dangerous? Thanks. Yeah. I am so against communism. Yeah. No, I would not. Yeah. Yeah. I believe in freedom of the individual. I believe that you can make a difference. I believe that everybody can put a dent in the universe by leveraging education and networking aggressively as well. I don't like this whole notion of no freedom of the individual, no freedom of press, no freedom of speech. I hate that. The progression of humanity is based on freedoms. Freedoms to be you. Freedoms to work from anywhere you want to and live your own life in your own terms. Freedom to be you. And that's my humble purpose and passion in doing what I'm doing, is to help my students, especially the ones that are poor, smart, and hungry. I love them, to be able to live their lives on their own terms, which is the antithesis of communism. All right. Next up, James wrote, Chris, you should host a live meetup with MBA students. Yeah. In person. Yeah. I've thought about it. We might do an event. It's been tough with COVID. But what I am doing, I'll show you what I'm doing actually. I'm filming a new promotional trailer for my MBA degree program, and I might hold a meetup there as well for my students. And so what I'm doing is I'm going to the Hiller Space Museum here in the Bay Area, and I'm renting it very, very soon. And I'm renting a 747, which is in the back of it. Okay, it's an old 747 taken out of commission, right, in 1971 or so. And I'm renting this in the museum. I'm renting this in the museum because I'm filming a brand new trailer for my MBA degree program. And Adad, who's my wonderful advertising videographer, has done my other videos in the past. He's going to head it up. And what's going to happen is in this trailer for my MBA degree program, I'm going to be in the cockpit here. I'm the pilot. And I'm going to walk out, right, to regular class. And I'm going to say, you've all been upgraded to business class. So it's going to be kind of fun. So we're going to rent it in August, mid-August, and we're going to film it then. So maybe I'll do a meetup at that point. Not sure yet. Yeah. It's not that expensive to rent. It's an old 747. Okay. All right. Next up, Mara wrote, hi, Chris. I work with someone who is pretty emotionless and stone-faced and even speaks with a monotone voice, and I can't tell if the person likes me. Do you have any idea why someone is like that? And have you worked with someone like this too? Thanks. Yeah. Yeah, I call them brains on a stick. Yeah, I have. It's just, there's nurture in nature, and that's kind of nurture. Some people are like that, where you don't know where you stand ever. They're incredibly unemotional. And sometimes they do incredibly well in business because they're unemotional. Where they don't freak out when things aren't going well. And they don't get too happy when things aren't going well. And I always recommend for people starting companies, as positive as I am, I always recommend, don't get too happy when things go well. Why? Because I don't want you to freak out when things don't go well. And in the first couple of years of starting any company, you're going to have multiple WIFIO moments, WIFIO, which is a real term they use here in the Valley, which stands for we're screwed, it's over. Yeah. And if you're unemotional, you can do exceptionally well. Yeah. All right. Next up, Naman wrote, I wanted to know that according to you, is PERT chart still significant in today's time? Your thoughts on this? I don't know what PERT means, sorry. It's a shampoo I used to use in Canada. PERT, and then what they did was they actually made a French version of the shampoo, and they call it PERT as well, and it bombed because PERT means lose. So they renamed it Prêt, which is French for ready. A little case study. Yeah. Oof. Goes way back. Hisham, how are you? Hisham is an amazing student of mine who was actually one of my students in class, one of my favorites at San Francisco State. He always sat front row on the right side, and he loves finance. And Hisham used to work with me in my company. I hope he works with us again soon. But congratulations, Hisham, for getting a job at Amazon. Very, very happy for you, man. Very happy for you. Yeah. And so Hisham wrote here, hi, Chris. Hope you've been well. Great to see this new and improved setup. You inspire me on how to get on track. Thank you. I had a question about getting back on track after slipping up and gaining momentum. Yeah. So you have to give me a little bit more context, what you mean by getting back on track. What I always recommend is that people write down their 10-year goals and then work towards achieving those. Now, I'm going to turn on my treadmill as I show you this next little bit here. Okay, so, and I have a treadmill under my desk. I get 20,000 steps a day, every day. And if you ever start working and, you at some point in the day you're fading, just start walking at the same time, or go on a walk like Steve Jobs used to always do. It releases serotonin, keeps me happy. It's like my Prozac for my brain. So here I go. I'm going to walk. Sorry for the squeakiness. And I'm going to answer your question. When you first set a goal, you're excited because the goal is the top of the mountain. You can see it. There it is. And you start walking towards your goal and you're getting closer and you're like, oh my God, this is awesome. Things are working well. And you speed up the pace. It goes a max of 3.7 miles per hour. You speed up the pace. You're getting closer. It's awesome. And then something happens. You're like, I can't. Where's the top of the mountain? Am I getting off track? I can't see the top of the mountain anymore. Why is that? What happened to my goal, damn it? Well, the reason you can't see the top of the mountain is because you're halfway up the mountain and you just can't see it. But don't worry, because you are getting closer. And sometimes I'll take a day off of work, a little bit so now because I own my company. But when I used to work for other people at Goldman Sachs and other places, what I would do is I would take a day off of work when I mentally was sick. Now, when you're physically sick, of course, you stay home. But if you're really stressed out one day, and I used to do this one day a year, if I'm really stressed out and if I go into work and I maybe upset someone or I'm not myself, that could be a CLM, a career limiting moment. So what I do is one day a year, at least one day, I would take a day off and just relax because up here I was too stressed. And when I would take those days off, I would reassess my life and go on a walk. And I would always find groundbreaking or come up with groundbreaking decisions to reinvent myself on those days off. So take that walk like Steve Jobs used to do every day at 1 p.m. Because when you walk, you're releasing endorphins, helps you think better, all that good stuff, and helps you reinvent yourself. Great to see you, man. I missed you. All right, now I'm up to the point where everybody answered about the VIX. Oh, goodness, look at all this. And the person that answered first was Arya, wrote about the VIX, like Arya Stark. It's the most badass, awesome actress on GOT Game of Thrones. All right, cool. And it is actually time. I've got to wrap up this call. And so looks like there's a lot more questions. Copy your questions and ask me again next week. I hope you enjoyed this call. Within an hour or two of this call being completed, my wonderful staff will take all the questions asked and they'll add them to the description field of this video. So you can click and get immediate access, clickable access to all questions asked. If you subscribe to my vlog, I'll see you every day at 9 a.m. on YouTube because that's when my vlogs drop. If not, God bless you. Have a great weekend. And I'll see you next Thursday and every Thursday forever at 8 a.m. God bless and thank you. And as always, I end my weekly call with a video that I license from the Silicon Valley Historical Association about Steve Jobs. Thank you.
When you grow up, you tend to get told that the world is the way it is and you're your life is just to live your life inside the world, try not to bash into the walls too much, try to have a nice family life, have fun, save a little money. But life, that's a very limited life. Life can be much broader once you discover one simple fact, and that is everything around you that you call life was made up by people that were no smarter than you. And you can change it. You can influence it. You can build your own things that other people can use. And the minute that you understand that you can poke life and actually something will, if you push in, something will pop out the other side, that you can change it, you can mold it, that's maybe the most important thing, is to shake off this erroneous notion that life is there and you're just going to live in it, versus embrace it, change it, improve it, make your mark upon it. I think that's very important. And however you learn that, once you learn it, you'll want to change life and make it better, because it's kind of messed up in a lot of ways. Once you learn that, you'll never be the same again.